the thingy that you have, J. Stephen Young.
The thingy.
Yeah. I'm having a lot of brain issues right now. Yeah, how do I get one of those?
I actually bought the green screen itself a long time ago on Amazon, and I used a program called Camtasia with my Mac that allows me to use virtual cameras, so that I can
Stephen,
actually broadcast.
There, I can hear you now.
Okay, I'll have to look into that. That's a really great idea. I thought.
Hello, guys. We are on Geek Out Virtual Con, and we are in the next session with the next link, and we are in the session with some of our favorite authors around the internet. So if we want to just go around really quickly and introduce ourselves and where we can find you, let's start with J. Stephen Young, because we were chatting earlier.
Okay. Well, I am James Stephen Young. I am a author of fantasy, sci-fi, dystopian children's books as well. Lots of fun stuff. Trump Area Resistance, my dystopian. #Magic is my latest release, the 4th book on that. I am all over as far as online stores and in a few indie bookstores, but the QR code you see here, you can go straight to the Amazon links or jstephenyoung.com.
Oops. Hold on a second. I was trying to add Irene.
Hello.
There she is.
I thought it would be really cool to write all my stuff on the blackboard or purple board behind me, but it's not all that readable. Sorry. I've been a technical writer for a very long time. I've worked at companies like Microsoft and Google and Mozilla, but I also write fiction, and I have a copy of my book right here. This is a collection of flash fiction. There's about 48 stories in this book. And yeah, I guess that's it for now, right? What else do you want to know?
Well, we'll get to that. And right now we've got Bill McCormick up here. Go ahead, tell us a little bit about yourself and your books.
All right, yeah, I'm Bill McCormick. Through an Amazon mistake, I became Bill McSci-Fi, and I stole that because they screwed up my author page. So that's it. I'm a writer, and behind me is this book one of a trilogy I wrote called The Brittle Riders that's out and doing well. It actually just got repurposed as an omnibus. So if you need a 1,200-page book to beat someone to death during the pandemic, I've got it for you. Legends Parallel, it's a critically acclaimed, adult-oriented. Please do not buy it for children. It's a critically acclaimed, adult-oriented science fiction thriller comic book. It's based on the actual theories of Hugh Everett III from 1949 to 1954 that postulated the possibility of a multiverse. And we went and actually used the real original math, so you don't end up with mirror universes. There's no evil Meredith anywhere. Everything's very, very different, very weird. A lot of fun. Above that, the Edgar Allan Poe Chronicles I was involved with. It's people who've done like Iron Man and Thor and stuff that we've all paid a lot of money to see. And me. They got me in there too, so it's fun. But we all took different. It's kind of like, I tell people it's like reading jazz, because it's a whole bunch of really talented people just vamping on Edgar Allan Poe, doing whatever the heck they want with it. I took the oval portrait and turned it inside out and made it into like a robot elegy. So you got that going for you. Savarchik is my teen book that I wrote. I occasionally will write for people who don't need naked bodies. Savarchik's a story about a woman trapped inside a man and a god trapped inside a human. Since she's all one person, she's got issues. It's a transgendered comic book that I wrote for some of the kids I mentor who are transgendered, and they wanted a hero, and they've got her, and they love it. So there we go. And then the last stuff I got up on top is the Hybrid Zero Multiverse. Started originally by a guy named Cyril Brown. And I jumped in a little over a year ago, rewrote everything, got us a publishing deal, got us a distribution deal, and now it's in stores all over the U.S., and we're looking at doing some big stuff with it. So, hi, that's me. I'm sorry about all that. That's way too much talking. You guys, back.
And up next, we have Brian K. Morris. He's one of my favorite morning personalities.
And personality is what I bring, sad to say. Anyway, I'm Brian K. Morris, independent publisher, freelance hybrid author, award-winning playwright, and former mortician's assistant. Also, currently on Facebook, a Facebook famous broadcaster every day, 10 a.m. Never mind the furthermore on my channel, as well as I sneak in plugs every now and then for risingtidepublications.pub. And that's about all I can say. I'm also the cheerleader in chief of America right now. My books tend to be mostly contemporary fantasy and humor and horror. So kindly check them out at Brian K. Morris on Amazon and Smashwords. Hi, back to you, Meredith.
That was great. So this is our panel here. I am actually Rob. Can you hear us in the background? I don't know if you want to pop in here because you write. I would consider you an author.
Well, I am releasing.
There he is.
I just came to watch Brian and hang out with you guys, so I don't want to take up any time.
Yeah,
I'm more the comic guy.
You're more than a comic guy, Rob.
Well,
I love you.
You are.
I know we're all.
We all bring different things to the table.
There's nothing wrong with comic books.
Yeah,
I pay rent with them.
Yeah, I love comics. Don't get me wrong.
That's right.
I'm here to learn from you guys as I'm stepping into being a novel thing. So I just want to kind of sit in the back and listen and learn.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that was one of the things that I wanted to ask about was with the writing process. I mean, what was your motivation to start? Is it, some would argue that I write because I must, and not because it pays the bills. So, I mean, if you want to kind of go around, let's just start a conversation and see how that goes. And of course, we're going to have an opportunity to plug your books and your projects, any kind of Kickstarters and things like that. But so what was the thing that started the process for you guys? Who wants to go first?
I'll take it.
Yeah, I was going to say, anybody?
Yeah, me. The kids in front.
You.
Yeah. Okay, mine started when I was very, very young, and I learned to read from comics. I was the only kid in first grade that could spell the word invulnerable and knew what it meant. So my books would come out, and I wanted more. I wanted more Superman. I wanted more Fantastic Four, whatever. And so I started making up stories in between the issues. And later, when I was in 7th grade, I gave one of those very unfortunate what I did over my Christmas vacation essays in front of the class. And due to my word choices, I meant to say my Christmas tree was lit up that my parents were near. Unfortunately, it made it sound like my teetotaling parents were lit up. And needless to say, my teacher wasn't happy with me, nor were my parents when I got home when the teacher narked on me. So I realized that words meant things. And then I also realized that somebody put those words in the comics. So why wasn't I becoming that guy? So I taught myself to write. And long story short, it wound up that now I'm writing for other people. And I also have my own Rising Tide company that I've had for about 8 years now. Out of necessity, because my former employer, note the adjective there, decided that my fortune was to lie elsewhere. So, but this is where I've wanted to be since I was like 7 years old. And so here I am still acting like a 7-year-old, but I'm doing what I want.
Well, I've got you there. What are some of the books and the content that you accept as Rising Tide Publications?
Well, currently we're working on an ongoing horror anthology called Frightening Things that has no real deadline at the moment. We're also working on our first heroic fantasy series called Doc Saga. It's kind of in the mood of like Doc Savage and Green Llama and all those, two-fisted pulp characters from way back when. He's kind of like this guy that just doesn't age anymore. He's a physician that goes around the world trading healing techniques and has become something different in the process. And the current book right now, we're still working on the inaugural one, but it takes place in 1970 when he's approximately 250 years old and dealing with a modern society. We've got some really great authors coming in that I'm really excited about. And of course, I've got a story in there because then that's one person I don't have to pay royalties. But no, I'm really excited because
that sounds really good.
I'm really excited by it. I genuinely am. Thank you very much. and hopefully it'll be out by the sometime towards the end of this year. But needless to say, we have plenty of time to work on it at the moment. So,
Yeah, I said I wanted.
And how about you, Irene?
Yeah, I actually remember nagging my mother to teach me how to read because I can remember when I was about 3 looking inside a book and wanting to know what it meant. So the first books I read were things like Alice in Wonderland and Dr. Dolittle, and I wanted to tell stories like that. And it's been a really long journey to get there. But I finally published my collection. I'm working on part 2. And I have well, you don't want to hear all that part. I became a technical writer because I hadn't been published yet. And I had promised myself, if I didn't get published by the time I was 30, I would quit writing forever and ever and ever. So help me God. And I was 29 and not published. So I submitted an article to a programming magazine and they bought it.
very cool.
And I'm about to boot Christian in the queue and bring in Evan Bond. He came in a little bit late. I know, you're so out of here.
But he hasn't talked yet.
Hold on a second. Let me find him. There he is. Because I think when you guys are in the queue, you don't see anything but white space. Hi, Evan Bond. Welcome to the panel. We're gonna go around and we're gonna have you introduce yourself. When we get to you, you just hold your horses here. We've got Bill. I see Bill McSci-Fi. You know, it's Bill McCormick. Go ahead, tell us like your writing journey.
Actually, a little bit similar to Brian's, and a little bit. I guess we're all going to be the same at one point or another. When I came over from Ireland when I was 2 years old, and my grandparents took me in, and my grandfather was illiterate, and my grandmother was not really all that interested. But I was constantly reading a newspaper, trying to read everything. So they bought me a collection of books, including the Arabian Nights, the original Arabian Nights. So I was like 4 years old reading about beheadings and people being boiled in oil. And I was like, we can swear here, right? Can we swear? All right, that shit rocked. I was like all fucking over it, you know? So I got older and I worked for a music magazine for a while, and I worked for sports blogs and sports writer, and I won some awards and it was fun. Then in 2010, I was going through a horrible divorce, and I had never really published fiction. I had stories, and I tried doing different things, but I never really dumped into it. And I was going through this horrible time, and I said, I've got all these stories in my head, and I'm either going to become a serial killer, or I'm going to write these stories. So I wrote the stories. And in 2011, a company called Bewildering Publications bought one of my stories, a story called And the Beat Goes Fut. It's a story about the apocalypse, and a guy is a disc jockey, and he ends up hanging out with a terrorist who started the apocalypse. And the two of them are watching the end of the world happen on TV. And everyone thought it was a cool story. And other people wrote me and they're like, have you got any more stories? And I had more stories. And I just kept writing and writing. And then I wrote a novel called The Brittle Writers. And I actually had to go through a couple of different people to get the science right on it, because I had some pretty scary ideas. But I'm not a scientist. And so fortunately, I know some people who are. And they helped me with it. And I pitched it to one company, and they sent me a contract, and it was not one of those vanity presses. They actually give you money and sell it. And I said, okay. And so now I've been with Azoth Chem since 2016, and I've got 3 novels out with them now and 2 more coming out this year. No, I didn't write them all in 1 week. They're written over a period of time. But so you got the Brittle Writers 1, 2, 3. And as I mentioned before, you can buy it as an omnibus and beat people to death with it. And then I've got another book coming out this year called Gotri of the Mists, Kitab Ek, which is the musical answer to the question no one asked, what the hell would happen if Brittle Writers was set in India? And so I did that. And I've got I sold a motion picture screenplay, and then they came back and hired me to write a novel about it. And so that's coming out this year too. It's called Splice. And then, of course, I got all my comic books, which keep me entertained. Mm-hmm. I'm a busy guy.
Yeah, J. Stephen Young, how about you?
Oh boy! Here. Well, I had since an early age, I actually hated reading because they didn't match any of the stories going on in my head. So I started keeping journals from a very young age, and then around 8, 9 years ago, I started writing things down in a more consumable fashion, I would say, from the chicken scratch that was in all my old journals. When I released Chronicles of Alderia, which is a epic fantasy sort of sword and sorcery trilogy based on Sumerian mythology. And then I ventured a bit into children's activity books, more out of necessity to write some stuff on printing practice and handwriting, teaching cursive to kids, which ironically is more popular overseas until the last couple of weeks. All of my kids' activity books and writing books have been picking up in sales since we all went into self-quarantine. So at least some kids getting homeschooling are learning more than just mixology and making mommy drinks. But then I ventured right. Then I ventured into I work in technology. That's my day job that pays the bills. And I wanted to write something that kind of mixed IT and magic, and that's when I came up with the idea for the #Magic series, which is a young boy who decides he wants to cheat the rules of magic, and he writes an app that he can do hashtags on his mobile devices, and it converts them into spells. So in each one having a technology-based theme, like the first one is Blue Screen of Death, because that's how the protagonist escaped from an ancient prison. Not a knock on Microsoft, but we changed the names to protect the not so innocent.
Yeah.
The second book, Control Alt Delete, he reboots his powers. The Web of Trolls is the third book. They get pulled into the virtual world where they're getting trolled. And the one that just came out in February, which is open source because his magical app ends up on the internet, which consequently drains his magic, and he has to get that stopped. And then I came out with a dystopian, it's labeled as a LGBT dystopian sci-fi political satire book. That's a mouthful, but it's Trumpery Resistance, which basically is set in a far future, and the world has gone to hell in a handbasket, and main character is trying to figure out, how to get things back to normalcy. It's more current affairs.
Yeah, no PC there.
Okay, excuse me, Meredith, you didn't tell me how expensive this was going to be for me.
Right? Well, it's like a con. That is exactly the experience that we're trying to do with this virtual con. Is that if you are right, exactly, you're putting up your things, and promoting ourselves, and we're at these tables, trying to have this con experience as best we can in a virtual environment. Now, you know what? Evan Bond has been so good. He came late to the party, but some would say that we saved the best for last. So give us a quick introduction and tell us about your books and your journey into writing.
Sure, and thanks for having me. So I started out. I was a big reader of Stephen King when I was a kid. My favorite was The Stand, and I was always big into writing short stories and little things like that. It really, when I took it seriously, it was more in high school. My English teacher, she gave us an assignment for what she was calling a fairy tale, and I didn't want to write a fairy tale. I wanted to write an action story. So I asked her, could I write an action story? And she said, yeah. So I came up with this character, Ethan McCormick. He was a Miami cop. His sister was taken hostage, whatever. And she loved the story so much. She kind of talked about it in front of the entire class. And that kind of pushed me into thinking, hey, maybe I should actually kind of continue this. So I just kept writing short stories from there. And I didn't publish my first book until 2015. But I'm a self-published author. I decided to go that route just because I like the control that I have. It's a lot of extra work, but it's fun. You control every aspect of everything. The marketing, the cover design, everything. It's a lot of fun, but a lot of work. But my first book that I published in 2015 was called To the Wolves, and it featured that character, Ethan McCormick, from that short story. So that was it's kind of an ongoing series of a detective novel. He in the first book he's framed for murder, something he didn't do. He proves his innocence, and then he kind of moves on to become a private detective, and that continues out the series. But then from then on out, I kind of started getting a little bit darker with my writing, kind of pushing a little bit more towards horror, suspense, thriller. And my latest novel, I actually got it right here, Echoes of the Past. It's a psychological thriller about a woman who she moves to a small town to run from like an abusive relationship, and bodies start showing up around town. So of course, this very small knit town, they all blame her, and they want her gone, and they'll do anything, even her 9-year-old daughter, to get her. So, but yeah, I've been doing this for maybe about five years now, and it's been a cool journey. It's been a lot of fun, and it's pretty cool. I can't wait to see where it goes another 5 years.
Well, here's the thing that I love. Okay, a lot of people say when you're writing that you need to write about the things that you know, right? Well, I love writing horror also, and I love writing about serial killers and things like that. That doesn't mean I am one, and it doesn't mean that I'm in that world. So, how do you answer that question when people are like, well, I want to write, and I think that's the worst advice that anybody can say is write what you know. Because I think a lot of our content is based on the experiences that we have, the things that we watch. We are influenced by the things that we see on social media and books and movies and things like that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But you know what? I don't have paperwork that says I am sane. So think about that. Okay. Some people do. But I mean, so what do you guys think? Just kind of, let's just have a conversation here. Do you think that people need to kind of stay in their lane and write what they know? Or is it okay to just be kind of like kooky and crazy?
Well, the good thing about fantasy is, you get to make stuff up as you go along, right? Even, in sci-fi, you have to, I think, start with a bit of knowledge, or at least look things up and have facts to not kind of run off the rails. But again, you're making a story with characters who don't exist, they're coming out of your head. You don't have to know everything about them, as far as I'm concerned, in my own humble opinion. What you know is your character. What you know is their situation. What you know is how they're going to react and interact with other people. The stuff, the serial killer stuff, you can watch a lot of TV and get ideas and figure out, well, if I were a serial killer, I'd do it this way. Or, my mom always said that she was going to kill dad if he came home with another boat or something. It's about taking situations and running with it, I think. To limit yourself to writing to just what you know, I'd be writing about baking cakes and writing web pages.
They are really beautiful cakes, though. You got to see his.
Well, thank you.
I also think that you can take what you know and amplify it into what you're writing about.
Yeah.
With the brittle writers, I mean, obviously, I haven't killed every man, woman, and child on the human race. I have not created a sex slave in my living room. I have a girlfriend, but that's not quite the same.
I was going to say, Kimberly.
So there's not something you want to tell us, right?
The day is
she's going to kill me anyway when this is done. But you, like Steven said, you write the characters, you write what you know, and then you build off that and extrapolate. And yes, science fiction. I have a lot of science in my stuff. Even in the weird things like Hybrid Zero. We dissected, Cyril and I have over 150 pages of notes on just how we wanted to set up the multiverse. And that gives you like a page in the comic book. So, science geeks like me, we're going to dive into that. But that's what we know, what we build on and what we take with, and I'm sure Evan has only got a few bodies in his basement. And Evan, I just have to tell you, as someone with a nephew named Ethan, who is a hair designer in Fort Lauderdale, I'm thinking maybe you've met,
Evan, how about you?
I like to pepper in stuff that I know into my stories and not necessarily write what I know, but kind of line it with stuff I know. Otherwise, I think it's more about writing what you love. If you're a lover of sci-fi or a lover of fantasy, or you love true crime or anything, it's less about writing what you know and more about writing what you love to do. You're something you love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's I think I like to write the things that scare me. I think that's key because if it scares me, it might scare somebody else, or just any kind of emotion that my work can bring to myself. If I'm crying while I'm writing it, it's like maybe somebody else, or maybe I'm just having a PMS moment. I don't know. I'm so glad that there's another girl in the panel, but. So it's not necessarily the things that I know, but maybe the things that scare me. And I think that people can connect with that as well. And, speaking to knowing who your character is, Jay Stephen, you said something about that where I think we really, when we're writing something, we have to know who our characters are. We have to know the backstory, where they're going, where they came from. And that's all in our head. And we try and translate as best as we can on the page. Do you guys have any tips or tricks as far as how you do your character developments?
I got one. I start out with once I get past the physical description, all the superficial stuff, I like to write, and this is something I learned when I was writing audio plays for a company about 10 years ago. I start out with about 205 to 500 words of that character introducing himself to me in his words. Now, the thing is, if it's a good guy, it's like, maybe he's self-effacing. Yes, I know I've got muscles of steel. I know I've got this great reputation, but I'm just an ordinary guy with a 360 IQ. Nothing special about me. Or, like you might have a villain. It's like, oh, why do you want to know about me? What have you heard? Maybe you've heard about this. Well, I wasn't there. Nobody saw me there. Nobody living. And that way I get quickly into their heads. And of course, as I'm writing the book or the short story or whatever, they become absolutely more real as I come up to a situation. How do they react to it? But that just starting that initial thing with the introduction really just pushes a lot of stuff out of the way and makes, I'm an outliner, I admit it. It makes that outline easier to write because then I've got at least a slight handle on them to begin realizing how they might react to any sort of situation I throw on them. So
I do something similar. I use the snowflake method when I'm actually outlining books. Now, of course, my outlines and the end product, never the same because my characters have a tendency to run away from me and do their own thing.
It's their fault.
Yeah, exactly. Like in Hashtag Magic, the main character, 16, he's sort of based off of me and some of my experiences. And his sister is my sister. Their grandmother is my grandmother because my grandmother was just crazy as hell. And she used to tell us she was a witch and turn us into toads if we didn't go to sleep. Now, how that was going to make 6-year-old kids go to sleep thinking their grandmother's, grandma's downstairs drinking her 50-50 and passing out so we can stay up. But I start from that base, and in people I know, and I people watch, and I take the crazier the better. Those are the people that I take their personalities and I match them to a character in my book. Mm-hmm. Now I do the same thing as you do, Brian. I kind of interview my characters to find out what their motivations are, mm-hmm. and then as I'm writing, and my outline kind of gets thrown out the window, and things or people are doing their own thing. It's because my characters are evolving in my head mm-hmm. and on the pages. And their interactions are sort of changing how they behave. Mm-hmm.
No dead allowed.
Mm-hmm. You know what?
There's no dead space allowed. What the heck? Dead space.
Don't make me fill this hour.
What a ridiculous thing. I know. And actually, we could probably fill in like several hours with just some of the knowledge that we have in our experiences, developing of characters, outlining, and things like that.
Not me.
Evan, you didn't pop in with this one.
Yeah,
you got something to share?
I kind of do the same thing. I do like a little interview. I've got like a sheet that's got all sorts of questions on it. Like, it details like favorite color, birth date, stuff that might not even be used in the book. I just like to know the character. I get to know their greatest fear, their biggest mistake. I fill all that out. I get to know the character on like a personal level. So it's not much different than than everyone else. It's kind of just the same. It's a little character interview and stuff. Just something that it comes out in the story.
I think my most fun challenge was I created a character in my short story that's called The Wand Whisperer. It's a book told in first person from the wand's point of view because it's sentient. And she becomes bonded with her mage. So she's actually sort of both the point of view of her and her mage. So it was kind of, how do I jump back and forth between the two? But then what is the motivation of a wand? What is the personality of a wand? This is where it's complete speculative application of, I've never been an inanimate object. Well, there are a few people who might beg to differ, but it's how do you take that and apply that to a character? And I sort of took bits and pieces of the saucy crabbiness of my grandmother, because this is an ancient wand. She originally belonged to Merlin, was created by Merlin, and it's modern day. So she's got centuries and centuries of attitude, and from the opinion that it's the wand that makes the mage and not the other way around. I had to develop those sorts of questions and answers for what equates to a magical piece of stick.
I, on the other hand, am a complete pantser. There's no outline whatsoever. Hell, I don't even wear pants half the time.
I was just gonna say, but
I'm not wearing them today. Here, let me go.
Common ground.
No, I admit I usually write in my nightgown.
But here,
I write in my nightgown too.
This is a true story. When
I
I
always
was
do that. You got a picture?
when I was writing the Brittle Riders,
You guys are lucky I'm in a bra. Okay, come on.
when I was writing the Brittle Riders, I was close to the 100,000 word mark on it, and I was looking at it, and I realized I hated it. I mean, I loved the characters, I loved everything I had at the front end of it. I hated everything I'd done with them. So I literally erased 80,000 words when I was supposed to instead be delivering it to a publisher who had already bought it. And I threw out 80,000 words, rewrote the whole front end of this thing, sent that in. A couple months later. Sorry for the delay, kids. Sent that in. And I got one of the most fun emails ever. They're like, "We hate you, but this is so much better." And one of the things is, and we're talking about characters, I have a character in the book named Sland. And when I wrote the original book, when I first started it, I wrote him as comic relief. He was the stupid guy who said one-liners, just the guy, "Hey, what are you doing?" One of those guys. But the more I wrote it, the more he kept in my head going, "Well, I wouldn't do that. No, I wouldn't do that." And I started getting into arguments with my characters in my head. And then I realized I was losing those arguments. And that's what made me go back and rip that whole thing apart and rewrite 80,000 words to get done with book one. And then realized when I finished book one that I hadn't finished the story. I just finished this. So now there's book two and book three. So yeah, Brittle Riders, and by the way, there's no chapters in it. So it is 310,000 words of a chapter. So if anyone tells you there's rules to publishing, tell them to screw off. Bill broke them. They're all gone.
Rules are meant to be broken.
Exactly.
Rules and dominatrix or submissives, but I don't know. Somebody.
We're going to get along, Bill.
Oh, you and I are getting along fine, Brian.
I used to think I was a total pantser too, until the day that I changed a character's eye color about halfway through and didn't realize it until I went back to read. So now I do some outlining. I usually know the beginning and the end, and I keep character sheets so I don't do that again.
Yeah. I do kind of a combination. I say I'm an outliner, but I kind of ignore my outline as I go and I forget things because I'm trying to get that initial story out. And I'm like those old writers that used to start writing before lunch, then drink their way through lunch and then come back to the typewriter. Everything is completely different after that. That's why we edit.
Man, thank God we don't have to write on typewriters anymore.
I still love typewriters.
I love typewriters, but I spent more time cutting pages and trying to insert things.
Yeah.
And I love word processing.
I think
Just
we're
for that
all
reason.
aging ourselves here. We're all aging ourselves. Well, we have 10 more minutes left before the next group comes in for our virtual con. And it went by so fast, and I really want to invite you guys back for another live stream. Maybe not a con, but with Geek Insider, we're doing live streams and we're doing interviews and things like that because I think we have a lot of knowledge that we want to share. But in the last 10 minutes, I just want to kind of go around the room and let us know what you've got, as far as your books, where we can find you, where we can connect with you. And then we're going to also blast this out on social media. A lot of you have profile pages on Geek Insider already, so we can direct people to that as well. Connect with these guys. Do them on social media. Wink,
Yeah,
wink.
do us.
Oh yeah,
And,
baby, do me.
you know what? They say authors
I
are
can
not
take it like a man.
All at once or
what
one
an
at a time.
unruly bunch. I
Talk
love
about
it.
hashtags and hard links.
Pirates. All of you are pirates. All right, let's go around the room. Let's start with who wants to go first?
Mine are
Don't all
easy.
volunteer at once.
My main website is jstephenyoung.com. I'm on the Twitters at jstephenyoung.com. TikTok is author.jstephenyoung. Pinterest, or most everything is author.jstephenyoung on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. But everything can be found from jstephenyoung.com. Current project is the full novel for the Wand Whisperer to pick up where the short story left off.
Mm-hmm.
I can go next. By the way,
Yeah,
I'm
go ahead, Ari.
definitely checking you out because all your actually all of you guys, your books are just
Wink, wink.
sound so good. Well, it's true. It's really true. Okay.
Thank you.
I actually have two websites because I also do web design. I have irenesmith.com and irenepsmith.com. I have the coolest Twitter handle. It's Storyteller, story_teller. That's because I've been on Twitter for a long time. I actually joined in, I think it's 2009, 2008. I forget exactly. My book is available on Amazon and on Smashwords. And you can find links to my purchase pages on irenepsmith.com. Did I forget anything really important?
Show your book.
My book. Oh, yeah, my book. Here's my book. And you can find a link to it on irenepsmith.com. There's a books page, and you can get a link to it. I don't have one of those. Do I?
I know we're
For me.
Brian's been key in shameless self-promotion and how we do that in our own screens. There you go.
Okay. Oh, and by the way, on my irenepsmith.com, there's a link to the short movie that my son made about one of my short stories. I wrote the script. He's in it, and he directed it. And he'll actually be on later tonight around 8:00. Matthew Smith.
Yeah. Evan, you're up.
Saw that.
Where can we find you? You guys.
My website's it's simple, evanbondauthor.com. And all of my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, Evan Bond Author. Currently, I've actually got a couple things I'm working on. I've got a YouTube channel called Books by Bond, and I'm doing narrated short stories. I write little short stories, and then I narrate them on my channel. I'm currently writing my next book, which is about he's a ghost, and he's Death's bounty hunter, and he hunts down ghosts that don't belong. And also over on Patreon / Evan Bond, I'm doing something called Dedicate or Die. Basically, anybody who joins my Patreon, they're either going to be I'll give them a shout out on my next book. I'll literally dedicate the book to everyone who joins, or give them a death scene in the book, whichever one they pick. So, few things I'm working on.
Okay, Bill, how about you?
Okay. Obviously, you can find everything at BillMcSci-Fi.com. Let me see if I can get that in there. Twitter is Bill McSci-Fi, Instagram Bill McSci-Fi, Facebook Bill McSci-Fi. Amazon now actually is Bill Sci-Fi because they're the first ones who did it when no one asked them to. They screwed up my whole. In a way, yeah. I didn't sue them. They ripped all my books offline and had me penning country music, which, if you know me, that's not a good mix. Not a good mix. But no, so you go to BillMcSci-Fi.com, and actually, here's the cool thing: for the pandemic, I've set up an at-home store, so I've got stuff here in the house. And if you order from the store, it's just like a regular thing. It's a bank portal. You go through it, you pay your money, and I'll send you autographed copies of everything you order. And if you order the Legends Parallel graphic novel, which just came out, if you order the Legends Parallel graphic novel and say you saw it on Geek Insider, I'll even eat the shipping for you because I love you. You're all wonderful people.
And that one comes with a free thing of hand sanitizer, right?
No, it comes in the good tradition of Twin Peaks. It comes wrapped in plastic. So.
Ooh, there you go.
Toilet paper. Come on, where's the love?
Nice.
Brian, you're finishing us up.
Okay, because Meredith knew I'll suck all the oxygen out of the room. Well, unaccustomed as I am to promoting myself, I can be found at Rising Tide Publications on Facebook, where we have fresh content twice daily, and also on risingtide.pub, where you can see all the stuff I have on Amazon and Smashwords. And currently, like Bill, I am working on all kinds of projects. I currently, if you see a book of mine on Amazon, contact me. You can get it for the price of the book, and I'll eat the postage and sign it to whoever you want. I do a lot of horror, like this book based on a real-life haunted cemetery in Chicago. Also, my bestseller is Sadestein. Dr. Frankenstein has a cure for his fiance's holiday blues. What could possibly go wrong? I spent 180 pages telling you. Plus, I'm working currently on my first fantasy romance, Aquatic, Love Above the Waves. And then we're going to do a sequel to Volcana, Rebirth of the Champion. I've got the third book, and if you're real nice to me, I'll tell you what the title of that is. It's nasty. Anyway, also, if you want to get in touch with me, I have a page on Facebook. Also, every day during the My Sharona Cyrus, we are doing a live Facebook thing called Nevermind the Furthermore. You get points if you know where that's from. And it's a daily talk show where you come on and you can not only have a conversation with the people around you, but you get to promote yourself. And on Tuesday nights, I have a show called Clever Title Pending. Yes, that's the title. Don't send in your suggestions. I've seen them all. We're at 8 p.m., 7 p.m. Central, where we talk about creativity and the business behind it. Other than that, I don't have a thing. Thanks, Meredith.
Like I said, we need a lot more time than just this little 45 minutes. That was not enough. That was not enough.
No, it went
and
by
we're all
really
going to be in touch with each other. Yeah, we're going to be in touch, and hopefully we're going to do another panel with you guys, and invite some more authors on because we've got so much to say and so many characters, and we're not out there killing people, guys. We're just not.
We're
really.
not.
Just
We're not.
let you know, and I'm there.
Oh crap!
That's just all. We're just all stuck at home. That's why.
I have to get
Extra time on our hands. I've been bedazzling my masks.
Well done.
I'm actually hosting a masquerade in a little bit today, so it's going to be fun.
Nice.
Well, in the queue, if you guys want to tune in, we are on YouTube, Facebook. We're Facebook all over the place. We're with OnCon. We're in the Florida Con Gurus. We are also hosting to Traveling TARDIS, Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, the Doctor Who radio show. Christian, you could have had a shorter title for that. Damn it. And we're also on Geek Insider. I am going to start booting you guys out. Up next, we have Pam Meisel-Smith and Eric Smith-Gunn of Enfuego Entertainment. All right, so tune in. Keep watching. All right, you guys. I'm kicking you out of here.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Get lost. Oh my goodness.
Bye.
All right, we are adding you to the stream. Hey, you guys, are you hearing us in the background?
I'm trying to do the hand thing. Am I doing
Jeez.
my rings are away?
Oh, where's Matthew?
Yeah.
There he is.
That's what happens to mine is my rings get
Welcome to
you know.
Geek Out Virtual, you guys.
Hi. Hey, Matthew.
Hey guys. Hey. Pam, I am so sorry. I know you texted me the other night, and then when you called Meredith the next day, I went, "Oh shit, Meredith!"
You're in trouble.
I said, "Pam."
Yes. Like,
I said, "I would
you know
never
what? I've
mention
been
her back."
spending more time. Yeah, I've been spending more time with these guys than my own husband. Bill, you are more than welcome to stay until we need the seat.
No,
And
that's okay.
then you're getting kicked, I'm telling you. But yeah, so we are Geek Out Virtual Con Day 1, and we are with Enfuego Entertainment. We have Eric Smith-Gunn and Pam Isel-Smith. And, give us a quick introduction with you guys.
Okay. I'm Eric Smith-Gunn, obviously. And this is my wife, Pam Isel-Smith, and we have a company called ENFUEGO Entertainment. We've been around since 2009, and we are a pretty much a production company that produces stuff for online distribution and whatnot.
Yeah, we're a team.
Yeah, we're a team.
It started out with just us several years ago, and now when we produce products, we have 20, 30, 40 people. So we've really grown a lot in the last several years. So we're pretty excited about that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Well, we had the pleasure of interviewing.
When we're producing.
Yep. We, just so that people know, when more than one person talks, it kind of flubs up the audio and stuff like that. So, and I tend to do that. So just tell me, either one of you guys, one of you hosts can either mute me or, kick me or whatever. So we had the pleasure. I know, Christian. Down, Christian, down.
You're getting the
So
boot.
we had the pleasure no, not yet.
Not in the
We
middle.
had the pleasure of interviewing you previously, and we were talking about hijab, and unfortunately, that has been kind of shut down with public, with the production because of COVID. And we don't know how far into episode 2 you might have been, or episode 3. So that has been probably a real challenge. What have you guys been doing to keep yourselves occupied?
Nothing.
Playing ping pong.
I don't believe that for 1 minute.
They're married. What do you think?
No, this mind over here is constantly going. So believe me, nothing stops.
Yeah, basically, I look at this time as like, I call it like being in the lab. So I'm like a scientist, and I look at myself as I'm in the lab. So now that I'm not really, I have a lot of time on my hands, which is kind of good for a creative. I'm putting together all my different stories, and I'm preferably hijab. I'm putting that together, and it's great because I'm able to organize everything that I was supposed to be doing for the show. The downtime has really been kind of good for me, and getting the productions together. So.
It's kind of funny how I noticed that a lot of people who kind of are used to the social distancing, whether they are at home writing or creating drawing, anything like that, we're not having so much of a problem because we're like, hey, by default, I don't have to go out there. And so I have all this time to create and stuff. So you're probably writing up about 5 or 10 years.
There's no excuse.
I really am. Yeah, you're right. Exactly. Because normally I have a full-time job. I mean, I have 2 jobs. I have my creative job, and then I have my full-time job, which is 8 hours a day. So that takes a good chunk of my time, so now that I'm at home and I'm not working, it does give me some time to, I still am working from home from my job, but I am having the time now to also dedicate to things that I couldn't normally dedicate to, so it's good. It's really, really good. So I'm getting a lot done. So it's good. Yeah.
And for those that hadn't been able to check out our prior interview with Eric and Pam, he kind of skirted over it when he said that they do some online stuff. They also have a show, Amazon exclusive limited series. It's called Hijab, guys. And while there's only one episode on that, that's how we met, was through the show. And if you haven't seen it yet, it's definitely worth the watch. There is, and I say this every time, Pam knows what I'm going to say, is that, and Eric, I should say, because Eric's the one that wrote it, is that there is about 20 minutes into it, there's a speech that the lead character gives that I truly believe should be in every social studies and history, not so much history, but social studies and civics class across the country, because it's powerful. It's coming from a woman that's wearing a hijab, and it's just it's really emotional. And you have to check out the interview as well, because Andrea,
Andrea.
I knew it, and then I was going to also butcher her last name as well.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
She's great.
She is, and she couldn't be with us here today, but and like Meredith said, we don't know when we're going to get more of Hijab. Where the whole country is kind of on hold. That's one reason why we put this together when we did. It was, everything was just starting to shut down when we decided to do something like this. And you guys know from experience, we love the independents. We love the independent writers, the comic books, the filmmakers, the actors, just everybody that's independent. Because as was said earlier on the show, another guest said, that mainstream is taking a lot of that word independent away. They'll say it's an independent film, but then they have a $7 million budget.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. We're truly independent. I mean, we are using our hard-earned money to create a lot of these projects. And, it hurts you in the pocketbooks, but hopefully in the back end, now with these new platforms developing, which is, I wanted to talk about a little bit. We just signed a deal with an OTT platform for Hijab and for Above Ground, our other show, and for Corey Run. And that's it's called Done Vision, and they're branched out of Canada. And it's run by Nikki Dunn and Vincent Dunn, and they're great people. I've had numerous conversations with them, and they're building a really, really nice platform. And they're going to be doing a lot of marketing, and they give the filmmakers a lot of leverage and leeway. And so if you are an independent filmmaker, I would definitely look them up. They're awesome.
Now, what are you guys doing as far as promoting some of these other things? Where can we find you? I mean, you mentioned Kore, but we've only touched on Hijab,
right?
And some of your other things. So, what have you produced, and where can we find you?
Well, go ahead, honey.
I was going to say, just go to ENFUEGOFilms.com.
Yeah.
If you go there, you're going to be able to find everything is in one spot. So we'd rather just focus and tunnel you into ENFUEGO Films, and you'll find everything that we're working on, past projects from way back.
Yeah. We have a show called we have a short film called Corey Run. It's on Amazon Prime also. If you don't want to find it on ENFUEGOFilms.com, and then we also have a web series that ran 3 seasons called Above Ground. And we also have Hijab. And then we also have an interview show. And we're developing a music channel as well, probably in the fall. We've been working on it here and there. But yeah, so we got some stuff some irons in the fire that are definitely going to be coming out. But yeah, just try to, most of our material you can find, we're all over the stratosphere here, but most of the material you can find, is mostly on ENFUEGOFilms.com. Yeah.
Well, okay, so your husband and wife team, what is the dynamic as far as, and people get touchy about this, like know your role, okay?
As long as he makes it to the as long as he gets it into the hamper, he's good.
Yeah. Long as I'm, always the boss, then we're good.
Yeah. Yes, honey. I've learned the term. Yes, honey. No problem, honey. You got it, honey.
Right. You know, because like I'm sitting here. My husband knows that we're doing this whole thing, you know, and it's an all day event, and I'm like, coffee boy. But he's taking a nap. I'm like,
I haven't
useless.
called coffee boy yet, but we'll see what happens.
Don't give Pam any ideas at this
Yeah, I
moment.
know. Exactly. Thank you, Christian.
Poor Eric is going to get it.
So really, what is that dynamic as far as when you're taking on? I mean, you both have strengths, obviously. You know, Eric, you've got the creativity side, and Pam, I think you're more cerebral as far as, you know, taking care of maybe the paperwork or chasing down phone calls and things like that. How do you work together like that?
You know, when we first started,
Especially since we're kind of like, you know, stuck in the same room, you know, and a lot of us are not used to being or spending that much time with our spouses.
I know.
There's that too.
we learned the hard way. You know, it's all by experience, and over the years, we've evolved. But we definitely early on ran into challenges of not overlapping when we're on production. And I really only get involved in pre-production, huge, you know, part pre-production, and then during the production process and being the production manager and managing all the creative stuff on set. So we've learned to kind of separate. We talk a lot before and during. We always take things outside whenever we, you know, feel like, well, what's going on here? We don't want to do it in front of other people, but we've definitely come a long way. And we always just make sure we communicate and know where each other is at all times. So I think we've done good over the years.
Yeah, I tend to start. I'm kind of like I kind of start because I'm the creative. So I start the project. It starts from here, and then it goes to paper, and then next thing you know it, I'm putting it together. And then after that process is kind of done, then I take it to her, and I go, "What do you think of this project? How do you feel about it? You know, do you think it's riveting? Do you think people will like it?" And she looks it over and she rips it apart. And then I go back to the drawing board, and then I show it to her again, and then she usually looks at it and goes, "Okay, we got to do this." And then that's when we start.
Then the planning starts.
Then the planning starts, yeah.
Then we get the people, the casting, you know, it's just boom, 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 boom. Once it's like thumbs up, we had to really know our roles, because at first, because we're both Leos, so we're like very headstrong. We're a headstrong couple. Yeah. Bam, bam, bam. So, you know, I let her control parts of the production that I just go, yeah, that's cool. I like that. And then I control parts of the production where she goes, yeah, cool, you can handle that. And we had to work that out, because that was tough. That was really tough at first.
You mentioned a minute ago about the, you know, you go into her with the first draft and her saying, you know, no, you know, this sucks. That literally happened with a job, didn't it? I mean, she didn't say this. She was basically, this is too dark.
Yeah, she's like, no. Too dark. We can't go there.
Not during this era.
It was a little much. I was kind of going out there, but you know, as a writer, you do want to go as far as you can possibly go. You can always pull it back, you know. And I went out there as far as I could possibly go on that story. And when she first read it, she was just like, I don't think this is going to be.
I was like shaking.
Yeah.
I was like,
not to say it was bad. It wasn't a bad script.
Writing,
it was just the
writing.
Yeah, it was just the storyline was a little harsh, a little dark. And so when I went back into the lab, I went back into the story, and I just took the nuts and bolts of it and just recreated it. And thank God I have someone here that can tell me, you know, that I'm going too far. You know, I need that. You always need that as a creative, you know, because you can stretch the limits too far. And if I don't think it's too far, sometimes we'll battle it out. We'll fight it out. And I'll go, well, this is my argument, and this is my side. This is how I feel about this. She'll go, yeah, but you're not understanding, and you know. And then we usually come to a conclusion. I don't know how we get there, but
it's my way. No, on.
It usually ends with "Yes, honey." No, I'm just kidding. No,
how much property damage was involved in these negotiations? But while riding on top of that, Eric, what was like one challenge that the two of you hit that you were both standing your ground? Hey, it's Florida, and you guys looked at each other and finally came to a resolution. And how did you resolve it? The biggest challenge that you two came across
during the production of a job.
Yes.
Anything. You guys are working together, you know.
We're giving future writer couples
that's a good question.
Nothing even like stands out. Like,
oh well,
except for maybe location.
Well, there's been many options.
I'm thinking of one.
Go ahead. You tell.
Kristen's going to start a fight here. You know,
first thought was location, because it's always a challenge with location, and we always steal locations, and you know,
because when you're a guerrilla filmmaker, you're out there, you steal the shot, and you get the hell out.
And
right?
we've done some crazy. I can't tell you all my secrets, but this last project, we were literally in non-trespassing zone. And I created these documents, you know, that made it look like we were allowed to be there.
False documents. She falsified that.
Wait a minute. So when you negotiate, you social distance in your own home. Is that what you're saying?
So I walk away. There were cops that showed up. I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but cops showed up, and I told my little story lie. And I walked out to go get the papers that I had, you know, conjured up. And he basically told the cop the truth.
Well, the cop made me tell the truth. And he goes, "Is that your wife?" And I go, "Yeah, that's my wife." And he goes, "She's lying, right?" I go, "Yeah, she's lying." He goes, "Look, guys, you guys are breaking the law. It's fine. We know you guys are breaking the law here. It's cool. Just be careful because someone was killed down the street.
Yeah.
It was a murder here last night. And you know we're roaming the neighborhood looking for the guy who killed the guy. So just be careful." And I was like, "That's cool, man. Thank you." He goes, "Yeah, and tell her to get better documentation."
And he called me out. I mean, like, you know,
she's like, "Tell her to get better documentation. That documentation was horrible."
Better documentation and better documentation and better location scouting if there was a murder there the night before.
Right, exactly.
That location. And
you don't even need the FX department at that point.
A month later, bulldozed down. Like we were.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the right time.
Yeah.
When the cops are going out, they're going, you know, we get it.
Yeah. Exactly.
We don't need an explanation.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a little.
So it's usually location, I think, and
you know,
casting maybe money.
And money.
You know,
usually it's money. It's money. That's our biggest challenge is money because you know since it's our money, you know, we have a pool of money, and she's the kind of person that likes. She's really inventive of how we spend it. Like, you know, like for me, I'm like, "Oh, I like this location. It's pretty cool. How much?" And they go, "That'll be $400." And I'll be like, "That's cool." And she'd be like, "Nah, we got to think of another way," right? She's very practical in that regard.
Negotiate. It's called negotiate.
Right. And so, you know, I always want the best for the production and for the shot. I want to make sure that the shot looks great. And she's like, "Well, maybe we can do this and do that." She wants to cut corners a lot. And so that's where we bump heads, like when it comes to cutting corners. Because I want the most beautiful shot, the most creative shot. She's like, "I want the most practical shot, you know, something that we can afford." So that does come into the production sometimes, but
you can't tell, right? When you see everything, you won't be able to tell.
No.
Yeah. Well, that's the importance, I think, of having two people who work together, because there's a certain amount of vulnerability and trust that you have to have for each other. And, you know, I mean, that's the total respect for not only the process, but for each other. And, you know, so, and that's not easy to do, especially, I know that you've been doing this like pre-COVID, but, you know, post-COVID, when everybody's kind of like, you know, they're getting cabin fever and they're, you know, maybe you're looking at your partner going, "Why are you still breathing?" You know?
Yeah. Well,
you know, so it takes a bit of the respect, the vulnerability and trust to kind of have a really good working relationship. And you guys have been doing this for a while. Tell us a little bit about that.
We still love each other. See,
yeah, we do. Yeah, we. I think.
Did she dress you, Eric?
Huh?
I was going to ask that.
Did she dress you?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Now, look, he's always telling the truth. He can't help it. He knocks it out to the cops.
Yes, honey.
They can believe we love each other.
Yes, honey. Yeah.
As soon as this COVID-19's over, Eric is running out of his house like Mel Gibson. Freedom!
That's true, man.
He'll have a new story to write. That's true.
Exactly. He'll have 10 books, but he'll be happy.
How to live with my loved one. Yeah, it's been interesting. We've been, like in terms of Enfuego, it's been mostly right now. I just been mostly doing a lot of it because I have more time on my hands. She has a full-time job too, and she's going to be talking to you guys about that later. But I just think that we've been trying to figure out ways. I've been catching up on a lot of movies that I haven't seen in a long time, and I've been really doing a lot.
He says it's research.
It's always research. Yeah, hey, honey, it's research. I'm doing research. And
Must be explain Pornhub.
Oh, I forgot to clean the cache. Damn.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so mostly I just been doing a lot of research too, and I've been talking to her about certain ideas that I have, just ideas that I've been working on, and I'll run it by her, and she'll go, yeah, that's cool. Okay, whatever, but yeah, we've been getting along. We've created a ping pong table for ourselves from our dining room table. Didn't we do that?
We did.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah. Yes, honey. And then we what else did we do? Oh, and we're
doing a lot of cooking.
We're doing a lot of cooking because we're both vegan. So we've been doing a lot of cooking, and we've been getting along pretty well. Yeah, we've been getting along good.
What about you guys?
Yeah.
How are you guys doing? Christian, what do you do?
Yeah, we didn't even introduce Christian.
Yeah. Funny as hell.
There's no need to introduce me whatsoever.
What's your background? I like that. Did you just put that? Is that like a curtain?
It is a shower curtain.
That's
Yes.
awesome.
Cool. That's
like
really
It
cool.
is a shower
Meredith?
curtain.
There it is.
Meredith?
You need one.
I'm gonna send you a curtain like that, okay?
This is my blue screen.
You know what? This is a better background. Okay, so here's the story. The last time we did the interview with Eric and Pam, I had a black curtain behind me. I was wearing a black turtleneck, and I was just this disembodied head. Yeah, and I was just. And afterwards, they were like, "Yeah, you should work on that background." I'm like, "Really?" We tell them.
She's Holly.
It's like after the recording.
Yeah.
Like, thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
It was
Follow the bouncing Meredith.
Exactly.
It's like a video game, It's really funny.
And Pam, she does the set design and things like that. I'm like, you could have given me some pointers, help a girl out here.
Yeah.
They thought you did it on purpose.
Yeah, no, this is actually a step up. I'm still waiting for like banners and things like that I ordered. So I'm a work in progress. I'm learning.
And we want to give a shout out to you guys. We really thank you guys for having us on here and promoting our company. And it's kind of an honor to be a part. I've never been a part of anything like this before. So, and I know this is like your first annual virtual con, and I hope you guys have more of these. And I'm sure there's a lot of filmmakers out there. There's a lot of storytellers out there that would love to be a part of this. And I think this is really cool you guys are doing this. So I just wanted to say thanks from my heart.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a couple minutes left, guys. And again, I just want you to put it out there where we can find you and, like where you're available on social media and stuff like that so people can connect.
Okay. So we are Enfuego Entertainment. You can find us at enfuegofilms.com. And we have, like I said, you can pretty much find all of our material there. We have a variety of stuff. We also have, if you guys want, you're interested, we also have like clothes and hats, and we have a lot of merch.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that. You have an online store.
Yeah, we have an online store. So if you want to buy t-shirts, hats, I don't know. We're not developing a hijab shirt yet. I don't really know how popular that would be. So we're thinking about it. So I don't know. Any ideas? Yeah, like if you walk around with a hijab shirt, it's like
maybe scarves.
Yeah.
Scarves.
I don't know. We're thinking
certain locations beyond the DL.
But anyway, yeah, you can find everything at ENFUEGOFilms.com. We are also we have a YouTube channel as well. I highly suggest on our YouTube channel, besides our own material, is I have some great playlists. I have this great 80s playlist on there that a lot of people really flock to, with all the great 80s music videos on there.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. You check it out. I have like 500 music videos from the 80s on there. So it's real popular. So I got like 100, I got like 1 million hits on it. It's really, really cool. So, but our material is on there as well. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for having us on. And hope we can do this again sometime.
Absolutely. In fact, I wanted to make a little announcement because I don't know that they saw the message, but in our previous panel, we had one of your t-shirts going through ENFUEGOFilms.com/shop, I think it is. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes,
but they won the t-shirt. So that is a shout out to Heroinberg. They are cosplayers, comic book writers, and they do a little bit of live action also. So they won that. And they're actually coming on next. So we're waiting for them to pop in.
Picture.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Eric and Pam, I'll be in touch. Y'all stay in touch.
All right.
Let me know how things are going.
Thank you so much for spending time with us. We really appreciate your time. We really do.
Geek Insiders, geek out, man. Geek out.
Thanks, guys. Love you all, man. Yeah, take care. Bye.
Okay. Who do we have up next? Oh, that was the close-up. I didn't want that.
Extreme close-up.
I did not want that at all.
What
are you guys doing to me? You know what? I have been on camera without my lipstick. What the hell? Why aren't you guys telling me these things?
Because I was on camera without my lipstick, so we can all suffer together here.
I don't have eyeshadow today.
Fine.
You'll have to excuse me. I forgot my eyeshadow. I'm growing out my hair to bring back the 80s hairband. I'm going to have eyeshadow from now on. I want to get like deep blue. Like what?
I tell you what, my brother, the one time it was for a Halloween costume and he wanted to go goth and he'd never put on makeup before in his life ever. So I'm sitting there and I got the eyeliner and everything like that. And he's sitting there going, oh my God, this is so stupid, blah, blah, blah. And then he gets in front of the mirror and he sees it like the dark shadowy eyes and everything like that. And he's standing there. He goes, damn, I look good. Yeah. And I thought for sure he'd be hooked on that. But that was it. That was the one Halloween and all good to go. So our next panel here, we've got comic books and graphic novels. And you know what, guys? I am going to go take a break and go through some lunch down my throat before I start going Hulk on people. So you guys got it?
Yep.
Of course.
All right.
And so
I'm getting out of here.
Fine. And where is Heroinberg? I guess
I don't know who anyone is, but we do have Chuck with us. Chuck, welcome to the program. Chuck is also a writer, an editor, and a novelist. I brought him on, too, to make sure we had enough people to fill an hour and have some great conversations about creating comics and graphic novels. Have you, at this point, actually edited a graphic novel, Chuck? And introduce yourself to the audience.
I'm Chuck Pino. As he said, I'm an editor, a writer. I'm becoming a novelist. That should be out by the end of the year. I'm doing an audio podcast. I do a little bit of everything right now. And, of course, comic reviewer and such. So, yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
And we should be joined by some other creators any minute now. There was a list of them. But until they get here, let me ask you a question about creating and editing comics. What do you think is the hardest part of actually making a comic book? Because a lot of people always ask me that question. I know my answer, but what's yours, Chuck?
Finishing it. I mean, honestly, there's a difference between just making a book and making the greatest thing you can possibly make. And really, at the end of the day, just make something. Like that is the first huge step, is actually finishing something. And then from there, of course, it can become something way more, and you can get better at the craft and all that kind of stuff. But just actually finishing something is such a huge hurdle, and it's the one that so few people do.
Very true. And we're joined now by Herrenberg. I'm saying that.
Herrenberg.
There we go.
Herrenberg.
There we go. Introduce yourselves, guys, and let us know what you're creating.
Hi, you can just call me Herrenberg. I'm the creator of the comic book. You can see on my head there is Vendetta. I'm sorry, this is backwards, so it's hard for me to. Yeah, there we go. That's Vendetta, and this is our live action Vendetta. We can say your real name, right?
Yes.
Yes, this is Mauricia. She also has her own comic book, which we'll show you a little later. And so Herrenberg is both a live action video series that has been running for 2 years. It's in the middle of its second season, and it's available for download straight from our website. We have people downloading it from all over the world. And then earlier this year, we had it become also a comic book and a comic strip in the local newspaper. So 3 different realizations of the same intellectual property, shall we say.
And I am Vendetta. I am Vendetta, Italian Spirit of Vengeance.
Yes, Vendetta is one of our superheroines. She represents which neighborhood?
Bloomfield.
Yeah, that's Pittsburgh's Little Italy. So basically, she's kind of like a cross between Huntress and Mockingbird. You want to talk about it a little bit? Go ahead.
I have super strength. I have super strength that is tied to my confidence, my super confidence. Whenever I don't have confidence in myself, I don't have my strength. So, yeah.
And she also has a fighting skill. So she's kind of like the Italian ninja of the neighborhood. So she's the daughter of the local mob boss. Her best friend gets killed by his right-hand man, his consigliere, and she swears vengeance against him. And so that part of it is a little bit like Huntress. And the part that's more like Mockingbird is kind of her fighting skill, her combat skill. And you want to show them your weapons here. Her main weapons are Eskrima fighting staves that are kind of like Mockingbird's. So it's kind of like a cross between a DC and a Marvel character. She's one of many heroines in our series. And then we have just as many villains, too.
Yeah.
Now, would you say that it's where it takes place is also a character in the series?
Definitely. The character, I would say that, let me make a little comparison. Have you ever seen the Miraculous Ladybug cartoon?
I haven't, but I've heard of it.
Okay, so the backgrounds are so well done that Paris basically becomes a character in the series. Well, for us, it's similar, and we are using a real-life place, not Gotham or Metropolis. We're using a real fantastic version of Pittsburgh. So in the background and all through the comic book and the comic strip and the live-action series, you see locations all over Pittsburgh where we film both inside and out. So Pittsburgh itself is like a character in the series. And we showcase all the neighborhoods. Most of the heroines represent either a specific neighborhood or some kind of specific ethnicity or subculture. We have a couple that represent like the heavy metal scene and the goth scene. And there's a whole bunch of different neighborhoods. Pittsburgh is known for having 90 different neighborhoods. So, we have about a couple dozen heroines representing those neighborhoods, and also the various ethnicities that live here, and the kind of jobs that they might have as well in the city. There's a lot of eds, meds, and tech now in Pittsburgh, education, technology, and medicine. So a good amount of the heroines are in STEM fields, and have those kinds of like technology and science type jobs, as well as many others.
And we're also joined by the one, the old Marvin. How do you say your last name? Because I don't want to get it wrong.
It's Wayne.
Wayne. Okay, so
Wayne.
tell us who are you? What are you creating? And where can they get it?
Marvin Wynn, creator of The Edge. The Edge is I would consider it a throwback to 90s comics, X-Men and Wildcats and things like that. The Edge is a drug that gives abilities, but as you use those abilities, it drains you out and can kill you. That's available at theedgecomic.com and on our Facebook page, the.edge.comic.
Wait, the drug is?
Well, we could talk about that offline if you want.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I could use a hookup.
Just for the record, kids, don't do drugs. This has been brought to you by the Anti-Drug Coalition of America. So let me ask you guys, you're all comic book creators. How much do you miss being out there in Comic Cons, telling people, getting people excited about what you're creating? Has that been, for lack of a better word, a little depressing to not have that ability to connect with fans?
Oh my God, yeah. Like seriously, that's like that's our bread and butter. Well, I also create a
This is Maurice's comic, The Music Maker. Yeah.
I also create a comic. And so along with MT here. So that's our bread and butter, man. Like, not being able to connect with comic buyers and things like that. It's hard. It's hard because, like, especially for indie comics, like, that's where we're coming from. That's where we're going from. It's hard.
And we really did have a full spring and summer planned to promote our stuff, both me and Marvin and Mauricia, and we go out fairly frequently with our heroines as well. They're not just cosplayers; they're the actual actresses who play the roles in the videos. So Mauricia isn't just a cosplayer; she is the actual Vendetta. We go out all together, and we had a whole bunch of stuff planned, and now it's pretty much all online. We're wondering whether the stuff in August that we have is going to happen or not, even though it's still 2 months, 2.5 months away, 3 months away.
What about you, Marvin? Are you feeling it? Are you feeling the isolation of this moment, not being at cons, not talking to people?
Oh, well, I mean, I think that in things like this are probably what's going to help me to not lose my mind. Been able to reach out to creators, fans, customers, and stores over the last couple of weeks, thanks to some planning on Facebook. But I mean, it's hard to get new people involved when you're not in front of someone talking to them about what you're selling. Sending emails and sending messages on Facebook is all fine and good, but being able to be in front of someone and hand them something physical that they can look at kind of stymies it. And I was continuously posting last year, beginning this year, about 2020 being a big year for us. I have 2 books on hold that I can't release because we were planning to release them at events.
Jake, I have never been mistaken for Seth Rogen. These are called muscles. He doesn't have any. So let me ask Chuck. Chuck's going to say something about my muscles. He's just going to embarrass me now. Go ahead, Chuck.
No, I'm going to say something about Seth Rogen, man. He builds up for what was it, Green Hornet?
No, he didn't. He wasn't that guy. He was not fat anymore. That was it. Congratulations. He went on Slim Fast.
I'm a fat guy. That's built up, mother.
Whoa. Watch the language. There might be watching.
If you guys ever run into Seth Rogen, ask him what happened to his plans to do an Invincible movie. That's one of our big influences. He dropped. What happened? What happened
Next time we're at Starbucks, I'll ask him. Chuck, what do you think? Do you miss the outside world?
Yeah, I'm an extrovert, so this is really tough on me. I miss being in, right with people and being able to talk to them and really feel that and meet new people. So that's been tough. But the other part of Comic Cons that's huge for me is the networking. So doing all this kind of stuff, I've met so many new people. I've been a part of so many new programs and whatnot. So this has certainly helped an awful lot.
And our show just got classy finally, as we have probably one of the hardest workers in comics. Go ahead and tell the world who you are.
Well, thank you for that. So I'm Kat. I'm the writer of Like Father, Like Daughter, and They Call Her the Dancer. And also, I'm a journalist for comics. So I work for Newsarama and DC Universe.
We're talking about how much we miss going to cons. Is that gotten to you yet? Like the weekend comes and there's no con, and you're like, oh God, I can't keep doing this.
Oh yeah, for sure. A big part of our business is definitely to do these cons, to sell books, to meet people as well. So I miss it, and obviously I understand why we can't have it, and hopefully soon we could all come back together when everyone is healthy and we can come back together. I will say I don't predict that happening until maybe Baltimore Comic-Con, in all honesty, but I hope if it does happen for Baltimore, then it's a big celebration that we're all back.
Oh, that would be awesome. And Christian, do you miss being out there? Because I know that I see you at just about as many Florida shows as there are.
You're gonna laugh. We're scheduled to go to 7 conventions this year.
Oh boy.
That includes SuperCon, MegaCon,
Yeah,
all of them, and they all got pushed back. In fact, one in Alabama got pushed back, and it just become one of the banes of our existence is to do panels, and when you take that out, we're just kind of a radio show. And I'm going to ask this question of everybody else there: what creative thing have you done to try to get your product out there now that you don't have the conventions? What kind of things have you explored into to try to get your product out there?
I'll be honest, just to start this, and then I'll pass it around the room. Next, we'll go in like an order so we all can go. I'm not trying to sell anything right now too much. I will only go to Kickstarter because people understand what Kickstarter is. But besides that, I won't push much product. I look at this time as a way to meet new people and to basically build up the fact that I'm here to entertain people. I think that's what they need right now. You give the audience what they need, and they'll return the favor later. You can grow your fan base right now. You can have people really just fall in love with you as a human being. So we have that opportunity to be on these shows and spend more time with you guys. I've been getting emails. I've been getting friend requests. I got 30 friend requests today. And it's hard to decide when you're so close to the end of your 5,000 cap who you're going to add now. So I keep trying to find people who say dumb things and just get rid of them. Like, I don't like what you said. You're gone. You're the weakest link. What do you think, Chuck? Are you trying to be out there hustling?
I mean, in a way, yeah. So what I tell my clients is when you can't sell this, sell this. So, us being out there and, online and being able to just, sell what we love and who we are and all that kind of stuff, that's a big deal, So, yeah, actually selling a product right now is difficult. For me, I'm really lucky because I have Essence House, which is the project that Eric and I have worked on. It's an audio drama, and we're on episode 7 right now. And every 2 weeks, more episodes come out. They're free. So they keep my writing and my stories out there, and it allows people to still be able to do that. So I find in times like this, we just need to switch gears and figure out what's going on. It reminds me of Joss Whedon, who, when the writer's strike happened, he went, okay, cool, I'm going to make a web series. And that's where we got Dr. Horrible. So, just think about changing your gears and what can I do to still sell this without necessarily having to put money or ask other people for money.
You had me at Italian Ninja.
Well, yeah, I'll go first, and then I'll let the Italian Ninja talk too about what she's doing. So I think you guys are right. This is a time for both networking, just making lots of new friends and connections, and also for internal creation. In other words, push your project forward. We have right now still people working on the comic strip, which the newspaper isn't publishing, but it's still going online. We have I have 2 different artists working on the second comic book. both Marvin and I have been exploring a Facebook page, which is bringing lots of creators and artists, creators and retailers together. And we've been, trying to get some of those creators to pick up our books. And just in general, I've also been writing, scripts for the next action series that we're going to, we can't film. I think not Kat. Hi, Kat, by the way.
How's it going?
I got your comics in the mail yesterday, Kat. Here we are.
I'm excited for you to read them. I'm glad it got to you.
I already did. I mean, we got so much time. I already read them. So,
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So just really briefly, So I think Meredith asked, are we shut down production-wise as far as the live action videos? Yes, we are, because, we can't really rent out rooms to do it in, and being outside, we might get, nasty looks from police and stuff. So we have to push all of our filming for episode 18 back about 2 months. But, luckily we can still write all those scripts and get them into the hands of the actresses, number one. And number two, we have our 17th episode all ready to go. So at least I can work with my webmaster over the next week to launch that on our website. And that'll be something people can download during the epidemic and enjoy, at least one new product. Do you want to say something, Mauricio, about your,
Oh gosh. Okay. I'll be quick. Music Maker Comics. It's a comic book that has scannable music within the comic itself. So you can download it with your phone, and then you can listen to music that's within the story. As far as like what this epidemic is like doing to everyone and everything, I mean, you can't do anything, but I mean, it's nice to like network with people via Facebook, I mean, we are so lucky to be living in an online age that we can actually, stay connected with one another, and we can do so pretty comfortably. I mean,
I don't know why you guys say you don't fit in. You look like people who would go shopping at Walmart at 4 a.m. So you're fine.
You fit in more than we do because we're not wearing anything.
That's true. Then we have Marvin.
Marvin.
Woo! Yeah, I think we're all in the same spot where, like we MT said, we've been trying to connect with retailers, with customers, with other creators over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and we've been able to move books. And I think that when we come out of this, I think there's going to be a shift in how things are going to get delivered. You want to see a lot more of direct to retailer and direct to customer, and cutting out the middleman, and unless someone steps in and tries to either prop up Diamond or help replace them, or if there's going to be multiple distros again. But things are going to have to change. We're not going to be able to go back to anything that's even relatable to normal.
And crowdfunding is going to continue to rise. I mean, right now, there are just incredible projects making $500,000. And in fact, I don't know if you guys have been keeping track, but Todd McFarlane's latest did it's now $1.15 million in like a couple days.
Yeah, it's been like 2 or 3, and it's just like that first day.
It's on track to make 5 or 10 million by it's done. That's just insane. And that's during a period when people supposedly don't have any money. They have money.
Oh, of course. I mean, you put something out there that people want, and they're going to find money to get it.
And Spawn Spawn's what everyone wants. Like you go to conventions, that's the thing that gets the lines for sure. It's like that hardcore fan base.
I also think that you have to remember that Kickstarter is it's something people know about, so they're going to follow you there. And a lot of people are banking on the fact that Kickstarters don't take your money right away. So we're supposed to be getting these stimulus checks. So that's an important distinction to make. We are supposedly all getting free money in America. So here it comes. What are you going to do with your free money?
My free money. I I've been trying to be creative to spread the love of other people's comics and mine as well. But something I started during this hiatus of comics, especially for reviewing comics, is a series called Top 10 Kickstarters. So hopefully spread the love that way. It did pretty well on my channel. So hopefully continuing to make that a monthly series and figuring out ways to spread the love for other indie creators. But yeah, for me personally, I've been, yes, writing for sure. And even though I think sometimes writing's hard in this kind of mental state where we're all in, but you have to push through it and write, especially if you have the time to do so. But yeah, looking through other projects, and then I agree, making connections, doing these virtual cons if you can. And I think that's just so important, just to talk to people and, again, get your comic book out there.
Well, let me ask you guys a question. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I'd like to just add with regards to crowdfunding that we may launch a Kickstarter when issue 2 comes out, but mainly we're going to be concentrating on Indiegogo, which is the new frontier. And some of the projects there are as big or bigger.
And also Indicron as well.
Well, yeah. That is the chart that rates the Indiegogo projects. But yeah, so we're going to be probably launching on both when we do that. And I just wanted to give a really short plug. I'm one of the moderators on a channel called Crowdfunding Comics, and Crowdfunding Comics spotlights both Kickstarters and Indiegogos 2 or 3 times a week, and it's growing in audience size. And each week they talk about all of these different crowdfunding projects, and a lot of the money is being channeled to that now. And people can go, like Marvin said, you can go direct to retailers. Even better, you can go direct to consumer. So both strategies are going to work more in the future, as opposed to one large mega distributor that has a monopoly, I think.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was going to say what's interesting about this, and I'm looking from my side of it because I don't know much about the market. I would assume that the marketing world is kind of similar to my marketing world is to the podcast, because the audience has now moved to social media because they can't go anywhere. So now they've moved to social media. In fact, when I promo one of one of our episodes, they normally bring in between 10 and 20,000 hits on the ad, like the actual episode. But we took a challenge a while back when this all started, and we said, you know what, we will talk about My Sharona Miley Cyrus on the internet, and we'll make an episode about that. And that episode ranked up at 46,000, and I was like, whoa. So it looks like the wave is now hitting in the social market as far as the social media is concerned. And we kind of changed gears, and we're getting a lot more people in. Is that a direction that you might be going into, and which social medias would you try to explore, aside from Kickstarter?
Well, I mean, if you're being honest, as indie creators, we've already been at the social structure.
Right.
My website, Indie Advocates, is the Global Digital Comic Con. Everyone's coming out, and it makes me laugh so hard. They're like, I just invented an online Comic Con. I was like, oh, that's precious.
Yeah, we've been here already. So.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So I think that, and I think Chuck will agree with me on this because he's been there since the beginning of Indie Advocates. We have just seen people trying to do things. What concerns me isn't the social media aspect, because I know everyone on this panel I've seen online promoting their stuff. So we get social media. We know where to go. What bothers me is now people are seeing, oh, this is social media, let's monetize it. And I'm seeing these cons trying to charge creators money to be part of their virtual con, and they're promising people something they can't promise. You can't charge someone $200 for an unproven thing. And we see that in real life. Or
even $25. I feel like any type of money. Like I saw 25, I'm like, how do I know I'm gonna, have promotion there also?
Get a return.
Gonna watch.
Well, how many people on here have raise your hands, lost money at a convention because of the table and haven't made back your money? I know I haven't. I know it's all around. We don't get tables because I know Chris, you're mostly a guest, right? You mostly go as a guest?
I mostly go as a guest or a panelist.
So I know that, and you don't get money. I don't think you get anything for your service either. You just get
trying.
So for us, we're already putting in money for hotels, money for all this stuff in real life. We're losing money. And these are people who are now going online. I looked at right now, there is WonderCon online. Did you guys know this was WonderCon weekend?
Yeah.
They have an online thing, and I was like morbidly curious. They didn't charge. I don't mean to imply that they charged. But I went to click on a link for an Artist Alley thing, and I kid you not, there was a disclaimer. So you have made an online con to promote people, and the first thing I see is this: we're not part of them. They are their own people. If they rip you off, that's on them, not on us. Wow, way to build confidence. Thank you for having me on your con and explaining that I can't be trusted. What do you think, Chuck? Am I wrong? Is charging for this online space not the most ridiculous thing in the world?
I mean, you need to give me some confidence as a retailer that I'm even going to have anyone walk up and look at it. And see, the thing is, at these shows, I know a body is going to walk past, and I know I'm going to have that opportunity. But can you honestly tell me that that I'm going to get the views, that I'm going to have people looking at me and at my stuff, or at least have the opportunity to flag them in? And if I have to use my own social media to pull them in, well, then why am I even attached to you? What are you doing for me that's going to make me even want to go there? So I don't know, man. You really have to build my confidence that you've got fans who are actually going to go check it out.
And we're going to break real quick. We'll get right back to the question, but we have to talk about the giveaway, right?
Yes.
Whoa. Yeah.
Why am I asking? I'm not giving away anything. I'm broke.
Oh, should we talk about it?
Go for it.
I see a.
Someone's got to do it.
Okay, hey, I see a post from. Well, you've got one right on my mask here. So I see a post from Meredith. I guess Geek Insider's Meredith. So we sent her a complete set of stickers. So this is something we do want to mention, that the guy who draws this banner behind us and the stickers and our cover is Jason Wright, who is a major freelance employee for DC Comics for the past 20 years. You've seen his work in such books as and Cassandra Cain, Batgirl, and Hal Jordan. And most recently, he was on Metal Men, Dan DiDio's Metal Men, which was cut off halfway through its run because of the My Sharona, Miley Cyrus. And we sent Meredith a complete set of character stickers. There's 6 stickers with there's 4 stickers with superheroes and 2 with the villains. So somebody can win that set of 6 stickers from Jason Wright, DC Comics employee. There you go.
To do that, you have to leave a comment during our live broadcast. So if you're watching right now, make a comment. Tell people how much you love that we're doing this. Tell them how much you love Geek Insider. This is and we're going to read this right now. Last call for door prize. Leave your comments so we know you're here. So make sure that you guys are doing it. And Phil likes what it is. Katerin, are you paying for table spaces now? Is that like your new online strategy? I'm going to pay $150 because Wizard World, which doesn't deliver in person, is suddenly going to deliver online.
Oh, forget Wizard World.
Yeah, you can't pay online. For a virtual con, you don't know, again, if you're going to get the audience or not. So, and also the reason these virtual cons were happening is because they're like, oh, we want to pay back to the creators because they lost money and they're losing on doing these conventions. I think it's crazy to think that you have to pay for these things. But then I guess on the flip side, if I had to be a devil's advocate, the same people creating these conventions are losing money as well. So they want to get money, but yeah, I think they have to promise that those creators are going to get an audience if you're doing that.
Yeah, Chuck.
So, I mean, it's silly because a lot of them are almost charging as much as they would charge for a normal place. But in the meantime, like, you don't have all the volunteers that you need. You don't, like, I mean, there's so much less to have to pay for that I find it kind of funny. Like, I mean, there was, I was looking at some of it, the Wizard World thing. They're charging you $240 to speak with the actor who was, to remotely speak with the actor who was in Supernatural. He played one of the main demons. They're charging you $240 for a minute.
Wow.
Are you serious right now?
Crazy.
And I mean, I looked that up. And so you're going to charge us that much to talk with a dude for a minute? Wow.
Takes me back
I
to
mean,
the 90s.
Virtual minute, no less.
I think we do that now anyway. So it's like, really think about it.
This is remotely. Like,
Yeah, I know,
you know,
But you remember in the 90s, it was all call this number for $5.99. You can get a psychic or you can get like phone sex. Like, it reminds me of that. Like, you can't do it, doesn't translate the same way. But we did have a question I wanted to bring up because this kind of goes in with it. Have any of you guys been part of a live auction? Are any of you guys doing that? Live auctions during the shutdown? Are you able to be part of that somehow? And how do you start one? Like, because I know that there are some publishers that have been doing the auctions every night, and I guess it's because they're in a bad way. I mean, publishers too. The publishers aren't getting paid by Diamond right now. They're getting 25 on the dollar, I think, right now, and that's Diamond doing them a favor. So, what do you guys think? Are you guys part of a live auction? Anyone done it before?
Yeah. Well, no, we're not through Diamond, so that doesn't affect us. But I have seen people doing live auctions. Basically, I've seen retailers. Now, the people who are in the worst shape are not us. The people who are in the worst shape are the retailers. It's very possible that a sizable part of the direct market will fail and collapse during this period because it didn't have enough money, back money reserves to last through like a month or 2 months of shutdown. So what I'm seeing various retailers, shops go online and do auctions on their Facebook. They'll literally sit there and try to like auction off a $3, $4, $10 book. I saw a local a shop owner who owns 6 stores in the greater Pittsburgh area. I saw him doing that, and I've seen several others as well. So I think the retailers are in the biggest dire straits right now. So much so that you see creators, big name creators, donating money to their local comic book shops. Like Rob Liefeld, for example, is doing a lot of that. He's literally like drawing sketches and having people donate the money directly to various comic shops. I think the shops are in the biggest peril of any of the parts of the business.
I would disagree with that. Hold on. I would disagree with that, but I wanted to ask Kat, what's up with your collection? I saw a message that said I saw Kat's video about her signed collection of comic books, enough to make a real collector cry. I got choked up. I was like, what happened?
Oh, no. I'm not selling anything, thankfully.
No, I thought something happened. Like, was there a flood?
No. So I did a video showing my signed collection just because I feel like obviously there's not a lot of content to put out because there's no new comics. So I decided let's do something different than show my whole collection because that would take forever. Let me just show like my CGCs and signed collection. So I did a video on that. Luckily, nothing destroyed or selling. But what is interesting about the YouTube world is that auctions have actually been going on for a little while for collectors, but it's mostly like the key issues. So I think for people like us, it's not going to help us. We do an auctions like, all right, $5 for a comic. I can do that at your store. So it's definitely more for the key issues and more about the retailers because they have those key issues. They'll do the auction. So I don't think it's going to help us, but I do think it's interesting. That's how retailers are trying to stay afloat.
That's fair. And to circle back to the point about, and I'll open this up to all you guys. Stores can apply for loans. Diamond can apply for loans. Marvel can apply for loans for losses. All these publishers can. No one in here can because we're considered freelance workers. None of us can apply for a loan. As a matter of fact, freelance, you can't even get an employment unless you can prove a constant stream of money. I know a lot of artists who are just dying right now. They don't know how to pay rent. So if you ask me who are the worst affected, it's the lowest level as always. It's the people who the businesses are closing up. They're putting their pencils down, but they're still paying their other people. You know what I mean? They're still paying their CEOs are still getting paychecks. They're taking 10% pay reductions. That's my opinion. And that's not to put light on comic book shops. They always have been in trouble, but creators are struggling right now. Do you guys notice that you have friends who are in real problems now?
Oh my God, yeah. I'm just sorry. It's just like, yeah, as far as like, well, I mean, creators are always going to be like the lowest level, like are going to be on the lowest level whenever it comes to like economic crises. And it just it is the way it is. Like, you know, for some reason, people who are creative seem to be the least valued in society, and that's the way it kind of rolls. Even though we're like, you know, we should be the most valued, we are like the least valued. Go figure. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on it.
Well, the people who are least valued are always least valued until there's a crisis.
Yep.
And then those are the people who explode, and then everyone wants their assistance. The same thing with people who work in grocery stores or restaurants or things like that. They were the people who no one cared about them. They didn't want them to have the money they needed when they were working. Now that they're needed, now everybody wants to call them heroes and pat them on the back.
And it is funny. We see everything, like we've talked about the falling apart of comics, and comics are all in trouble. We really are seeing now what that looks like. For the first time ever, it's not complaining about it. We're seeing the reality. Diamond wasn't the ship that we could sail on after all. Marvel, DC don't know what to do if they don't have Diamond. Mm-hmm. The only thing that we're left with right now is, I guess, each other. The industry is really looking out for itself right now. Yeah. And I'm seeing I got to give credit. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but people who had rivalries are putting stuff aside and starting to work together and talk to each other. And I think it's been a very beautiful moment. So with that in mind, what do you guys think the future of creating is? We're going to invite Quinn in a minute, but if you guys could get an idea of it, what do you think we see going past this as creators, as indie comics? Because we're the only ones with the lights on right now. And people are noticing it. Not the news media that doesn't cover us, but everyone else notices.
No, they don't.
Yeah, not at all. But everyone else notices that we're still creating. We're still kickstarting.
The comics industry notices it, though. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think?
Yeah.
Let's go.
And the customer.
Let me see. Jason's still not there. What do you guys think? What's our future? Diamond doesn't seem to be it anymore, right? We just suddenly noticed that Diamond won't be there if anything goes wrong.
Well, I think
so.
Let's go with Marvin.
Okay. I think it's a lot of different, and a lot of things that I've been talking to with Herrenberg and with Kat and other people for the past year and a half about sharing resources and finding different paths. So, I mean, there's been a lot of what I've been trying to do is setting up networking shares between retailers, trying to create a new way to get comics to people. I mean, I think we're wide open for an Uber type comic book service where people can get comics delivered to them by someone who would be similar to a Grubhub driver. $2 or $3, you get your books dropped off to your doorstep. But I think we're in a motion of whatever we can try will probably come to fruition or probably work. Because we can't count on big box. You can't count on your Walmarts and your things like that because they're not going to be there when there's a crisis. They're going to pull up their stakes, run into their mansions and hide.
Now, Christian, as a fan, what do you see this as? Because you're not a creator, you have a unique perspective. As a fan on this panel, what do you see from a fan point of view when it comes to comics?
God, I don't know, because I've been trying to follow. I've been listening to I don't know. I know everybody's perspective on this, like Clownfish TV and Erotic and all those guys, and I've been listening to the different opinions. I don't know. Here's the weird part, and it might not be. Okay.
Big ups to Gary and Geeky and Neon.
Yes, they're wonderful people. I met
and others.
I met Neon over at Epcot.
He's from our area.
He's from your area? Cool.
Yeah, Punxsutawney, just north of Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay. Don't tell me you said hi.
Yeah, he knows about us.
Oh, cool. I gotta, here's a weird take on this. I really think that at this point, just like the housing, I really think that the free market is probably going to make this all work out. I mean, you will see somebody come in and take up to the plate Diamond, and then they're going to say, I'm hoping that maybe they won't make the same mistakes as the others have done. And then maybe we'll start seeing a reflection of people actually listening to the audience as opposed to this is what you're going to be reading, this is what you think that this is, and this is it. As opposed to, what do you want to have? What do you want to hear? Because what was it? The new thing that came out, what was it? Gotham High or Gotham School or whatever it's called?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
And I have not heard one positive comment about that. And I just like always the first question that always asks in my mind. It's kind of like Ghostbuster 2016. Did anybody ask for this?
Well, who's it for?
Yeah, exactly. Who's it for? Did anybody want
to read this? Yeah.
Exactly. It's just like when people wanted a new Ghostbuster, they wanted a reboot. They wanted Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, and unfortunately Harold Ramis, who passed at the time, which I still am holding Bill Murray accountable for that one. He waited too long. So
I have something to say about that, actually, Christian. When you're talking about things like New Warriors, Children of the Atom.
Hold on. I don't want to go down that road. We're going to talk about indie comics today, where this isn't a
No. Okay. I understand what you're saying. No. What I'm saying is that if there are people that don't want something mainstream, that then they can look to indie creators instead. That's all I'm saying. And then there can be a network of things that are distributed by independents. Is it okay if I mention Alterna Comics?
I just want to stay on topic with the people in the room. We want to give everyone the same amount of airtime. So,
yeah, sure, no problem.
Kat, no, it's okay. You had wanted to say something a few minutes ago. I was trying to get back.
I probably don't even remember, but I think we were talking about Diamond. So, with Diamond, this has been a conversation forever, and we needed the moment like this to realize it needs to be something in action. So yeah, I do think we're going to have a very different comic landscape, and that's a good thing because, kind of in the vein of what we're talking about, I think we need to have different voices and understand that there are different audiences, and that's good too. And I think with not just having one distributor like Diamond, we can have the more creators and more voices and more different stories with that, which I think is great.
Which can I add on top of Kat's statement? Do you think it's the reverse? Do you think it's the rise of mom and pop stores again over the big box?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's a good thing too. I think we all need different. I think, not to go on a whole different side, I think the idea of the word diversity means all different types of voices, and to have the mom and pops, to have the corporates. We want all that mixed together in one comic book community. And I think hopefully that's the goal of like us being able to talk to a retailer a little bit more efficiently than just the Marvels and DCs. So we are getting those different voices.
Agreed. Definitely.
I think we actually have Jason on with us. I think, Jason, can you hear us? Yeah, here he comes. All right, so here comes Jason. Jason, are you with us? Hey, what's going on, Jason? We've been trying to get you on a couple times. How you doing? Introduce yourself. Let us know what you're working on and how you're doing.
Just a sec, we'll shut those dogs up. I'm over in the UK at the moment. I'm in sunny Tunbridge Wells. Well, it's actually the middle of the night here, but I'm a comic book writer, an editor, and it's great to be here with you all.
Hey, Jason, thanks for being here. I was in the background and was listening to all these guys, and I wanted to pop in and say hey to you. Jason is actually someone that I met by happenstance through another connection. He's married to a partner of Geek Insiders, or someone who works for the partner of Geek Insider. But Jason has like an extensive background in comics. Jason, you've worked with Marvel. Give us a list of some of the lines that you've worked on, especially recently.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you a quick resume of what I've done. So I used to be an actor, and my elder brother worked in comics. He worked in comics all his life, and he started working for Marvel UK, this was back in the 1990s, the early 90s. And I was fed up of not getting parts on really rubbish British TV programs. And I was like, oh, wow, you're working for Marvel UK. Wow, this is a dream job. Can you get me in there? And he said, no. And eventually he did. And he got me in working for the British, for Marvel UK, but in the nursery department. I was working in the little kids comics. So the first comic book I ever edited was Barbie. I wasn't really the ideal choice for Barbie, but or the Care Bears, which I also did.
The Care Bears? Oh, man.
And yeah, you know the Care Bears?
Oh, of course.
Did you have them in the States?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were pretty big.
They were massive. Yeah, they were massive here, and I was the editor of the Care Bears comic and the Barbie comic, and we do our own strips and comic book strips, and then we decided shortly after I became editor, it was to be revamped into a lifestyle mag to encourage girls to be like Barbie.
Which I bet that went over really well, didn't it?
Well, yeah. Actually, it was. This was the 90s. It was a massive success. Yeah, it probably wouldn't now. And I was lucky. I had a little, a young daughter at the time who was mad about Barbie, and I used my acting training to get into it, because as a writer or editor and thing, I was trained as an actor, and it was the method school, the whole Marlon Brando thing, like from the Actors Studio in New York. We had a similar drama school in England called the Drama Centre, and it was to go for this method of getting under the skin of your character, and so I got under the skin of Barbie, and not in a dodgy way. But, to try and understand it. And I've actually used that acting training with a lot of the comic books I've written since, because I stayed with Marvel UK. We got taken over by Panini, an Italian company, and stayed with them then. And then eventually I went freelance and worked in Pinewood Studios, where they do the Bond movies and things like that. And eventually I ended up in India, where I worked for this graphic novel company called Campfire, that have the most fantastic artists, and they did the most amazing books. They had a really varied output of books. They'd do classics, a bit like, do you remember Classics Illustrated? You remember the old Classics Illustrated comics?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, a bit like that, only in graphic novel format. So instead of 24 pages, there'd be full-size books. They'd do those. There'd be books on historical heroes, and there'd be original books. There'd be just complete fiction superhero stuff, and all sorts of other things. And I started freelancing for them, and then I did a book on Steve Jobs just after he died. They said, "Can you do a book really quickly for us. And I said, okay. I didn't know much about him apart from I quite liked Max. And I did. And they invited me over to India to meet the artists. And I was fascinated because when I got to Delhi, it was amazing because at Campfire, it was just like when I was a little kid and you'd read Stan Lee's bullpen bulletins and it'd talk about the bullpen. You had this idea, the artists, the writers, everyone working together in this crazy little office. It was actually like that in India, in Delhi. It was the artists, the writers, the editors, that we were all together. And it was such an amazing creative hub that I loved it. I loved Delhi. It was so insane. It was like being on the set of Blade Runner. It was futuristic. A lot of people who haven't been to India, they wouldn't necessarily get that. But they've got all the modern stuff in Delhi. It's all there, but it doesn't quite work, or it's a little bit screwed. And it was just fantastic. It was like living in a science fiction movie. And so when they invited me to come over and head up the editorial department, I was, this is fantastic. And had the best years with some of the best artists in comics who've since gone on to work for Marvel and DC and other things. India is a fantastic bed of talent for artists and creators. I just had the time of my life there.
Now, with you being over in the UK, just before you came on, we were talking with these guys about here in the United States, we have basically one distributor for the mainstream comics. And since, of course, everything is shut down now, then, there's nothing going out. The mom and pop stores are getting shut down. And then, of course, the main folks, the artists behind the scenes, the writers, the artists, they're being choked out. And so do you know, because you still have a lot of friends in the industry and still working in it yourself, do you guys have that same little chokehold, that choke point over there with that?
We're lucky as writers or artists that we can work from home. But of course, there's no shops open. Whether they're comic book stores, whether they're news agents. In the UK, we have news agents where you get your paper, you can get your comics there, as well as from specialist comic book stores. And of course, while the news agents are open, there's only a few of them. And so during these ridiculous times that none of us have ever lived through before, yet nothing's open. So everything has to be subscription based. And they're putting a lot of people on furlough and, until this is over, because we're having to leave things on sale longer. Simply to make up, because they're not going to be getting the sales they would normally through the stores.
Right, and that's exactly one reason why we wanted to put this whole thing on, was for the independents, and we didn't get a whole lot of folks out of the UK, and you're actually our first guest today, I do believe, and that's why I wanted to ask you. Yeah, if you guys had that same little point, and I just lost my train of thought. I was going to ask.
I'm sure it's exactly the same here as it is for you. I don't know. Are you guys on lockdown all across the States?
We are. Yeah.
Yeah.
I live in New York, so it's even worse.
Oh God, yeah.
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 I'm from Florida.
We're just outside of London, so it's not quite as bad. We're allowed out for an hour a day. It's a bit like prison in a way, only without wardens. You've just got, but it's also become a bit like East Germany, or where you've got neighbors spying on each other, and the police are encouraging you to to snitch on your neighbor and say if they've been out for their hour or if they've been out more than once. So we are allowed out, but to go for exercise and things. So, and luckily outside of London, there are parks and places we can go that we're not, because you go for exercise in the street in London, you're going to bump into people. Here we can go outside and not see anyone. So, but I'm sure most people are going crazy not having anyone to talk to as well. And so our shops, the stores, you can get Lego magazine,
right?
But that's about it.
Yeah, the mainstream.
If you want to catch up on the world of Lego, you're fine.
Yeah, the mainstreams are shut down here. The Marvel and DC aren't even putting anything out. And
it's week 2, I think.
Yeah, and so I really don't think it's going to start up anytime soon, and that's why you folks here are so important. Is continuing those comics and continuing to get those stories out, because I don't know. I mean, yes, I got into comics because the artwork kind of drew me to the covers, but what kept me there was the stories. It's like a serial book from way back in the day where you pick it up once a month and you continue in your story with the characters that you know and love.
Definitely.
And the ones that, one of mainstreams, yes, I have my Batman that I love, but independents I've been a fan of from the beginning. And Jason, you've got, the Beatles, all of our yesterdays. You did the Gandhi one, and now you're friends with the son or grandson of Gandhi, from what I've heard. And
with the grandson of Gandhi,
The what?
Yeah, I did a book on Gandhi while I was over in India, and my first when the publishers asked me to do it, my first impression was, well, hang on, I'm British, I'm one of the bad guys. This is a bit like it's not. Is it appropriate? Could we not get someone else to do it? And they said, well, you tried, because they liked the Steve Jobs book that I and I did, and I tried to get into the character of Gandhi, so I went vegetarian. I started wearing while I was writing it, I just wore a loincloth. And so you're lucky tonight I've got a shirt on. But I
think our audience.
I only listened to Indian music, and just to get into the character of the guy who's. But I also wanted to find something so it wouldn't just be a hagiography. I didn't want to do a life story of Gandhi that just presented him as a saint, because that's boring. No one wants to have dinner with a saint. You've got to be on your best behavior. Please. You prefer a villain. So I looked for the things about him that weren't so wholesome, and it was when I found those that I actually found, when I found things that weren't perfect about Gandhi, that I started to like him more as a person. I started thinking, okay, now we've got a bit more in common. Now, he's not, I don't have to be on best behavior with you. You're just like anyone else. And I think that's the thing with, if you're in comic books, especially, or any other kind of biography, if you're doing a life story of someone, no one just wants a goody-goody. You need to see the bad points and the good points all mashed together. And then And so, you know, we can all be pretty horrible.
Too.
Oh. And
sorry?
What was that?
Sorry. I said and sleeping around naked with a bunch of girls too. You know, that was always fun.
Well, yeah, there was that. I mean, okay, yeah, I'm not saying that, but
I'm sorry. I'm being devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
And hey, guys.
I did actually leave that bit out of the thing, out of the biography, because it was for a family audience, and I thought, oh shit, how can I make this seem understandable when I can't really understand it myself? I glossed over that bit, I'll admit.
Well, Jason,
sorry, again, I'm devil's advocate right here. So sorry.
No, I did have those thoughts. I thought, oh yeah, oh, okay, yeah. But yeah, you see, he definitely was not a saint.
Well, Jason, real quick, we've got folks that are coming up on the next segment. Tell everyone where they can find your stuff at. Let's do a quick round robin. I'm going to back out, Rob, if you want to let everybody say bye so that some of these people can get in that are next up.
Sure,
Jason,
yeah.
I'll talk to you soon. Appreciate it.
It's been great to see you.
Why don't we start?
Well, my name's Jason, and you can find my books on either the Campfire website, campfiregraphicnovels.co.in, or absolutely, it's probably better to just get them straight from Amazon at the moment while everywhere's closed. And I'll speak to you all soon.
You could check out my stuff over at Etsy Comic Uno, where I have like File Like Daughter issue 1 through 5 and The Dancer issues 1 through 2, and also my writing at Newsarama and DC Universe.
And your YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, my YouTube channel too. I do too many things to mention all of it. But yeah, Comic Uno as well.
The Edge is available at theedgecomic.com.
Oh, hey. So, yeah, you can download all of our live action episodes and order this comic directly from heroinberg.com. And once the stores are back open, the comic is available in about 20 stores in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, New York City. And we're looking to expand into more indie stores across the country.
And you can also find you can also find Music Maker Comics on Music Maker Comics with an X. .com. That's it.
I'd like to thank everyone who is with us today. You can follow me at MrAnderson.com. Any one of you are invited to come on any of the panels we have during the week at 4 p.m. Eastern to continue the conversation we were having about the future of the industry. We are out of time today. Thank you so much. Make sure to check out indieadvocates.com for everything indie. And I'll see you all soon. And good luck out there when we restart and the pause is over. So coming in is Meredith for the next panel. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, you guys, I really appreciate you. And, we're the next session is going to be women in business. So it is a little switch in things. So I don't know if I lost Vendetta and let's see, Kat. I think Kat's already gone. All right. Well, you guys are welcome to come back on and talk with us, because we are women in business. And I just wanted to kind of go around the table and let you guys introduce yourselves, where we can find you and what you do. So, Pam, you want to start?
Sure. I'm with Evolution Partners Insurance, and you can find us at evolutionpartnersinsurance.com. Actually, it's ins.com. And did you want me to tell you about the business, or you want to just that?
Yeah, we're just going to do a quick introduction, and then we're going to deep dive into the different businesses and what we do, our models and things like that. Yeah. Did you have anything else?
So you did want me to explain it? You wanted me to explain
Oh, okay. Well, we'll go on to Suzanne.
So that's all I have. Go ahead. Okay. evolutionpartnersins.com, and it's yours, Suzanne.
Okay. Hi, hello, Meredith. Good to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm Suzanne Leary Shoemaker. I'm the founder and the CEO of Undercare Inc. I design and I manufacture adaptive clothing, which is also known as fashion inclusive clothing, clothing that is adapted so that it makes it easier to put on and take off for people who have trouble dressing.
Mm-hmm.
And you can
And
find
I call you Vendetta, so I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce yourself and what you do.
Love the mask.
Don't mind the mask.
Oh,
We
there
don't mind
she
the
is.
mask at all.
Everybody's wearing them. Just not over
You're
there.
lucky, you know how that goes. No, like I'm SK Mavo, and I also write for a comic book called Music Maker that has actual downloadable music within the story itself. So that's what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, our panel is a little bit different, and part of the reason why we included women in business panel during Geek Out Virtual Con is because Geek Insider actually handles a lot of different things. We're not just comics or entertainment, music, comic books, cosplay, and things like that. We actually do a lot of things in business, and so I just thought, to have a woman's spin on it, because I felt really outnumbered by all the guys that are out there, and so I stole an hour. I stole an hour so that we could talk. Yay for the girls, and I wanted to talk about the different things that we do, and it's not cool, and it's not flashy. It's not necessarily entertainment, except for Herrenberg here, but but there is business behind what you do. So I just wanted to, Pam, if you wanted to kind of expand on what you do, and then share where we can find you, what you do, and how it helps, with, because we had this conversation before. Insurance is, a lot of people don't understand it. It's a big snore, and it's confusing for a lot of people. So can you explain what you do with Evolution Partners?
Yeah, I just kind of want to backtrack though a little bit about the women and women being very creative. And I don't know, can you guys see this sign? Let's see, right there. Can you guys see that?
Yeah. The women in
the evolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, it starts off, with the Neanderthal foot, the animal foot, and then a bare foot, and then a man's shoe, and then a woman's heel. No. So, everything I've ever been involved in always has to do with helping people. And this is a really unique industry, the insurance industry. My background actually is a therapist from way, way back. But I got into the insurance industry, and I actually worked on the company side. Like, you guys are familiar with the insurance carriers. The most common ones, you'll hear like Travelers, or maybe Farmers or Allstate, those kind of things that maybe the consumer hears about. But behind the scenes, there's a whole nother industry that has to do with businesses, and these independent agencies need to have access to these insurance carriers, and it's very difficult to do. And I was on the carrier side, and I ran small business for a large company for many years, and I found that these smaller agents, the ones you see on the corner, these agents that help insureds get their insurance, they are unable to go directly to these insurance carriers, and they have to use like a middleman to get to these companies. And when you do that, they have to split commission. Their name isn't on their policies, and I know I'm getting kind of into an area that a lot of people don't know about, but it's really important, because these agencies, they're never going to be independent if they always have to use like someone in the middle. They're not making the kind of money that they could make. And so what I did is I left the company side, and I joined partners with actually a gentleman and his partner that were one of my agents, and we formed Evolution Partners. And the whole goal is to help these independent agents get to these carriers, but we're not taking their commission. It's their business, and we're helping these smaller agencies grow. So it's really, I'm kind of giving you a high level overview, but it's really exciting because I get to help smaller agents grow. They're developing the relationships themselves, and we play a part in making that all happen. So at the end of the day, I'm still doing what I've always done and helping other people grow their businesses. Now, it's all about small business. You know, everything we hear nowadays is about small business, especially what's going on, you know, right now with the COVID-19. So that's kind of a short version of it.
I'm gonna pull in Suzanne here if you want to think about that, and then like when we're done introducing ourselves and the businesses and things like that, I want you guys to think about like what it was that prompted you to go on this path, how you thought outside of the box to do what you do. So Suzanne, I'm just gonna let you come on here and you know, tell us about Undercare and what you do.
Okay, well, several years ago, I came out of the swimming pool at the YMCA in White Plains, New York, and I was observing some elderly women who were struggling to dress. And they were having such difficulty, and it took them a really long time. And I was really taken by how determined they were to self-dress. And also I was touched, and I sort of felt sorry for them that it was so difficult for them. So I've always been creative. I'm actually trained as an artist, and part of my training involved doing dissections and learning all the bones and muscles in the human body, understanding lift mechanisms, things like that. So when I saw these women struggling, I thought, why hasn't somebody come up with a new way to put on underwear that does not require bending, balancing, putting your leg and foot through a leg opening? So I had this idea. It was spinning in my head. And I went home and my kids said, you know, Mom, you always had these great ideas. Just do it. So I started cutting up undergarments around the house and sewing them together. And I came up with a working prototype that instead of bending, balancing, or standing on one leg and having to insert a foot and leg through a leg opening, you simply wrapped and fastened with soft and flexible Velcro. So the idea is that, you know, most adaptive clothing is really quite unattractive. It was designed in the 1970s and it's horrible fabrication. So what I did was I designed
Oh my gosh,
that look like regular.
That's amazing.
Yes, but you see, it all comes apart and you just simply wrap it around and fasten it. And then pull it through your legs and fasten on the right and left sides. So it took, you know, most products go through about 3 iterations before they go to market. I'm sure that I went through at least 10 iterations. And it was an entirely new industry for me. I knew nothing about, you know, making patterns, sewing prototypes. People asked about woven or knit. I did not even know the difference. People talked about fit models. I knew nothing about that. So fortunately, I live in New York and I had access to the garment district. So I could just sort of go into New York, pound the pavement, go into shops, ask questions. So eventually I found support, and I also went to, I needed intellectual property protection. So I went to IP lawyers in New York, and it's kind of a funny story. I took my hand-sewn homemade prototypes, and this is before I'd been through all the iterations. This was early on, and I went into this, you know, conference room with the floor-to-ceiling glass windows, and you could see the Statue of Liberty in the background, and you know the whole thing. And the lawyers came in all buttoned up, and I just wanted to run out of the room. I felt incredibly embarrassed about the idea of pulling out this homemade cut up underwear. But fortunately, they did not laugh at me. And they said, you know, you don't know how many people come into a patent office without a working prototype, and they just have something written on a napkin. So they loved that I had something that actually worked. And also the fact that I was the sole inventor and the sole owner of the idea at that point. They also liked that. So so now I have 5 patents. I've designed the men's brief, the women's brief, and now I've moved into bathing suits.
Wow.
Which also are very cute.
Awesome.
Wow.
Okay.
And work
It's
with
like the little black dress of bathing suits.
So it's really been a steep learning curve for me. It was not. I worked in publishing after college. Then I went to graduate school in art. So it was a turn to go into this. But I really loved it. I loved. It was challenging to learn all that there was to learn, but I've really enjoyed it. And then, of course, that's the creative side, which is my wheelhouse. But then there is, as is our discussion focus today, the whole business part of this. So that also was.
Well, we're gonna circle around to that because I want to let I keep calling you Vendetta.
Vendetta.
What am I calling you? Because you've got your mask on. You've got your mask on.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I'm rocking the mask. So, but no, like, in addition to playing Vendetta on the Heroinberg series, I also write for The Music Maker, which is a music-based comic. And what I mean by music-based is that it also has scannable music that you can scan with your phone and listen to music that's actually going on in the story as you're reading the story.
Wow.
So yeah, and it's different. That's different. That's our hook. But also, like, I like to think like I'm the writer of the series and everything, and the illustrator is in Mexico currently. And we've been just communicating online, and so we haven't been nearly as affected by the whole Corona thing as like other industries have. But like I mean, I like to think that the initial hook is the fact that we have downloadable music within the story. The second hook is the artwork, and then the third hook is my little contribution, which is the story. So.
Mm-hmm.
Very unique.
Yeah, I mean, and you have the whole production side of that, you know, from creation to production, and then trying to market that out as well. And speaking of marketing, we have Marianne Richards here, and you came in a little bit late, so we didn't get to introduce you. But if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Well, Meredith, thanks for having me. I apologize. I had some technical difficulties, but I'm here.
We all do.
As you said, my name's Marianne Richards, and I'm a marketing consultant. And what does that mean? Well, a lot of businesses struggle to create or have marketing that sells for them. So I help businesses create a brand strategy and a messaging that really connects with their ideal customers and helps them grow their business. So I've been in sales and marketing, for over 20 years. Everything from startups to Fortune 100 companies. And what is really powerful with what I do now, and has really been part of what I've done for 20 years, is really focus on what is it that is the customer's problem. What's the problem, and how does your business solve that problem? And then what transformation do you have for your clients once they work with you? And when you can weave that into your message, it is so powerful. Pam and I work together with her website, and she can attest to how powerful that really is. And it's really simple, but it's just one of those things that, you know, business owners are business owners. They're, you know, they're really good at what they do and not as good at the marketing part. So I love what I do, and I love that I get to help businesses grow. And I work with clients all over the world. So it's really exciting. I just needed a computer and Zoom, and we're off to the races. It's a great thing.
You know, one of the things I think that we all have in common is that, on top of having boobs here, all right, we have this attitude. We have this attitude of just do it. You know, we're kind of,
I love that.
You know, we are just, not to, sorry, Nike, you know, but we are just doing it. We're taking the things that we're good at and passionate about, and we're spinning it on its head, and we're creating something maybe out of struggle or adversity, maybe pushing back and things like that. So I wanted to ask you guys, do you ever feel like you've ever hit the ceiling, the glass ceiling? Was there ever one for you? Or do you feel like, are you blazing the trail for others? Or do you feel like maybe somebody inspired you and broke through that for you? Who wants to go first?
Yeah. Well,
go ahead, Pam. You said well first.
Okay. First of all, before I answer your question or talk about all that enthusiasm of forging forward, I want to plug Marianne, because Marianne, what she does in her business is she really dives deep into what's important to you, and she pulls it out, which is so different from so many other companies. Like she said, she built out our website, and my daughter actually added a page to what Marianne did, but Marianne was the catalyst for the whole website. And so definitely it's very unique on what Marianne does, because she learns and dissects what each company does, so that it's about that person, not about what she thinks it should be. I just had to say that because
I think that just from our introductions and things, it kind of sounds like we're all a little bit of an empath, when it comes to dealing with people. Yeah,
I think so, and I think that's so important to think about the other person. It's not, people always say, oh, you're in sales. I'm like, well, I've been in sales my whole life, but I don't look at myself as a salesperson. I look at myself as a people person. And it truly is about thinking from their perspective and what can help them. And that's what makes Evolution Partners so unique. And there's many companies that are very similar to our company, but they don't put the company first, and they don't listen to what the need is. Because I help small businesses like Marianne does, and it's a unique business. They're insurance agents, but they all have their desires and what they want to do and how they see themselves growing. But no one out there is really helping them. And just to be that advocate of that person where they know they always have someone to go to that can help them. And, until I retire, which who knows when that'll ever be, because I really don't, I'm like, I can work from home. I can work all over the world, thank God. And all I need is a phone and a computer. But to be able to help people like that and grow their businesses, and then you're connected. It's, everything to me, I always say this is about relationship, and it's nothing else. It doesn't matter. It's all about how you connect with people and the relationship you have with people, no matter how much money you have or not. And so that, I think, is the most unique thing in the success of any business. And like you said, Suzanne, you said, just do it. I've had that saying, just forget it. Don't worry about how or if somebody else says, no, it's not supposed to be done that way. It's like, whatever, just do it. Figure out a way to do it. And I think women are very creative because we've had to multitask. We've had to figure out ways to do things. And of course, my background, led to where I am today. Of course, all of the way we're brought up and what you go through makes you be who you are. But I love that, Suzanne, about you and how you came up with that idea, because that was really unique. And just think of all the people that you're helping too.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, in truth, in many ways, I have felt supported in my business because there is a huge push for women in entrepreneurship. And I've fortunately been able to take advantage of a lot of that. So there are a lot of resources. In terms of gender discrimination kind of thing, I guess I came across that more. My factory is in Sri Lanka. Far away. And, boy, it took me a long time to find it too. But anyway, I have great factory. They do great work. But I traveled to Sri Lanka alone and stayed in a bed and breakfast. And everybody kept saying, your husband didn't come with you? You're here alone?
Yeah.
And it was such an odd thing to be a woman alone in business. But I just felt like, you know what, I'm just going to push through. And I did. And I think I have good relationships with them. but I do think I really felt it in that moment. But there is so much great help for women in business right now.
Perfect timing.
And I think times have really changed. It was a lot harder back when we started. There was a lot of discrimination, especially, among the older generation when we first joined the workforce. But there were also pockets of people that were very open to, hey, if you can do the job, great. And then, and then you find your allies. Now, the world is so different that with the internet, you can do anything, right? I mean, you could be a filmmaker. You can have just a 35 millimeter camera that takes HD and a computer, and you can build movies, right? So the world has really changed. And I think women are starting to really have a network and really support one another, which I think is really important. And I think there's been an overall acceptance more of women in, leadership positions. So it's all been great. We kind of built it on, with each other. And now it's really finally coming to the point where, the sky is the limit. You can do whatever. And it's really your mindset that holds you back, not the opportunities.
Yeah, right. And I know in Herrenberg, it's mostly women, right?
Yeah,
it's the majority of women in that operation.
It's okay. So the concept behind it is that a meteorite comes and it affects the X chromosome, and so it's only women who become these superheroines and supervillains. Yeah, exactly. So like.
I love it.
But in my own, to branch off of what we were talking about, I'll talk about it very lightly, about the concept of a glass ceiling and everything. I guess I'm lucky in the sense that I'm in that generation that didn't have to feel that I was inhibited by my gender. I always it was just it was the quality and I also I'm an art ed major, to give you an idea. So yeah, I was never inhibited by notions that my gender was going to somehow inhibit the way that I was going to make art, or I was going to, make my way in the world. And I think that's just such a testament to everyone before me and hopefully everyone after me, that we are, it's not the issue that it used to be,
No.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, and so now I kind of want to dive into what each of us do. Pam, we had a previous conversation before with Evolution Partners, and I want you to let us know again where we can follow you, so that our audience, if they're just tuning in, knows. And each one of you, if you could do that. But in our conversation, I said that it was almost like the matchmaker of your smaller agents to your to the ad carriers, the big carriers, because for me, I'm a writer, and I've had bricks and mortar businesses. We had a deli. My husband and I had a deli, and my family has a restaurant, and so we've been in these different areas of small business. Connections are everything. And as a writer, the way that I could kind of figure out what you were doing in my head was by comparing it to something that I know. And so for me as a writer, if I want to go to a big house, not the big house, but if I wanted to go to one of the major publishing houses, I have to go through an agent. I have to go through a middleman, because they don't want to hear from me directly. And it kind of sounded that that's what you do. Can you explain a little bit more about that and help us wrap our brain around it?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, most of these agencies that you see on the corner that have their little retail shop, that help you purchase your homeowner's insurance or your business insurance, most of them have to do exactly what you just said. They have to use a middleman, because the way that the insurance industry works is you have this big carrier over here, this big company over here, and then you have these individual agents or agencies. And these carriers do not want to talk to you. Very similar to what you said, Meredith. And, you know, they want the large ones, the ones that are making a lot of money, that are producing a lot of volume. And so what I did, and this is where the relationship again always comes into play, because I've been in the industry for so long and I worked on the side that they're on. I know the way they work. I know the MO and what the requirements are. I went to each carrier. I mean, I've partnered with probably about 15 mainstream commercial carriers and some personal lines carriers. And I went to them and say, hey, I know what you want. I know what you need. I know why you don't allow these small guys to work directly with you. But what if I act as the middleman for you so you don't have to deal with these little guys? I will help them grow and I will connect you too. And so they agreed to that. So I have agreements, and I say we have agreements with these companies, and basically they've agreed to allow me to connect them, but on a smaller scale, long as I kind of like manage them. But I'm not going to take away their business. They're going to get 100% of their commission. All the policies are going to come in their name. They're going to own their book very differently than the situation you're talking about, where there's that middleman that's there and takes most of their stuff. So the whole goal is to help these little guys become independent, and that they can continue to flourish. And once you get one company to do it, it allows another company to do it, another company to do it. So they're very grateful for this opportunity. And what makes me feel so good is just to see these agencies grow. And, you know, we get paid on the back end from the company. We're not getting paid from the carrier, from the small independent agency. So it takes this kind of out of the mix. So hopefully
and I'm going to say a little bit. And I'm going to say that I think maybe for another day, you know, a future interview or something like that, you can kind of explain how you approached those carriers, because that couldn't have been easy, and you must have had a lot of no's. So, but we'll probably save that for another time, because I want to get over to Suzanne. And, you know, again, with those relationships, and you said that traveling, I would never personally travel to Sri Lanka by myself. You know, in fact, my husband, he loves me, but he's very protective. He didn't like me just traveling up the East Coast by myself when I was up visiting family and stuff. So that must have been a challenge. And you know, with the production of the adaptive clothing and underwear that you do, you know, you are definitely helping people. But how did you find those connections? What was your pathway? Like,
it's been a long runway. It's been a really long runway. And you know, it's interesting because I find that the way I learn is just, I have to learn it myself. So somebody can tell me something and I don't just take their word for it. I, you know, go through the whole process. Can you hear me? I think I'm having some, okay. So right. So I just do things my way, trial and error. I think it takes a little longer, but I think probably the quality of the learning ultimately is better. But yes, I found lots of wonderful relationships with other women. But I think, in all fairness, I think men have been extremely supportive too. And I do think you're right about the relationships. You do have to establish a bond, you know, integrity, honesty. You know, you have to be realistic about it. Everybody's in it to make money, but you know, the whole question of fairness and transparency, and you learn from your mistakes. I haven't had any huge mistakes, but I've had a few near misses. Did I answer the question?
I wish I could say that. Usually, right, I know. I was like, if I'm doing something, I try to be as, you know, like close to the 99% to 100% correct, because when I screw up, man, it's like nuclear.
Go big or go home.
And then I have no choice. I have to own it. I'm like, it was me. I'm a dummy. But so Marianne, I'm going to go to you really quickly, because with the type of business that you do, and we were talking about being empaths and really connecting so that we know what those clients want, what our customers want, and even in comic books and music, who our audience is. So, I mean, that's going to take a lot of energy. Tell us about what you do, your process, and how you connect with your clients in order so that they can have the voice that they want, because obviously you're kind of like that middleman for them.
Absolutely. And the key is really letting them know that the story is not about them, it's about their customer. So we have to do an extensive discovery process to really find out, and like Pam said, really dig into what is it that you're off, what solution. Every service or product does solve a problem. That's why you're on the market. People buy it to make their life better, to save money, some reason. But a lot of times the marketing doesn't reflect that. And so I talk to them about it. What is your customer's biggest problem? Who is your customer? Really dig into that to find out what is it, what are the things that they do? What one problem? Because you really have to focus on the most important problem you solve. If you give them 5, it's like a movie that has 5 different plots, right? You can't keep track of it, and then you're not interested anymore. So when you focus on that and you start asking them questions, I always tell my clients, it's all in your head. I don't know any of this, right? It's just my job to tease it out, to understand your business. And then I take the magic, as you do, Meredith, when you write, right? It's the magic of words and putting it in to a paragraph that's so glittering that people go, oh, I get it. I need that, right? And when you can do that, it's amazing how it turns the corner for sales, because it's just saying the right words and really connecting or attracting those ideal customers. When you talk to them and you're kind of drawing into their story, right, about their life and what they need, it becomes very simple and you attract people. But it is a lot of work in the forefront. The writing part is hard, but you have to get all those pieces together to understand what you're writing about.
Yeah. And then also with Heroinberg, also with the entertainment side of things, you have, I'm kind of curious to know whether or not it was based on like an alternate universe that you want to live in, or was, the audience that you're reaching now, is it the audience that you intended, or is it the audience that you kind of
I think
adopted you?
I think we're gradually growing, honestly. Like, I think it was definitely going to hit on certain points because it was Heroinberg, because it was, female centric superheroes and supervillains. And that was one of the beautiful things about it, was that it was going to plug into this market that I don't think has really been tapped into as much as it can be. Like, we're starting to get there, I think. But
so what is the market? What's the market?
The market, if I had to say, was like, this interest in female superheroes, and just female centric stories, and
but they're not young girls either. I mean, it seems like your demographic is kind of like, if I were to guess, I would say probably you're in your 30s, maybe a little bit younger, give or take, and things like that.
Exactly. Yeah. And that has been, we're tapping into a lot of interest at a much younger level, but we're also tapping into an interest at a much older level as well. So, I mean, you were seeing these superheroines who are, between their 20s to their 30s, somewhere around there. But you're also really inspiring younger generations and really inspiring older generations as well. So I mean, it's we're getting across the board. I think is what we're doing.
It seems like it would be a great idea to really do some that are focused on young girls, because think about that. Like,
Yeah.
you know, there used to be, you know, mostly it's heroes that are boys, right? But you had, you know, growing up like Nancy Drew or Trixie, you know, Belden, you know, where they were, you know, kind of superior and they were, you know, in intellect. And so that would be really fun for girls to have that, you know, young girls that are superheroes that they could look up to and say, hey, you know, I can do these things too.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's
and I'm gonna go ahead. Sorry.
No.
Nope.
I'm done. I'm good.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say, like, none of us are in our teens. I'm just gonna leave that at that. So we're not in our teens. So we have the benefit of wisdom of going back and you know, like, one of the questions that I love to ask, and Pam's been asked this before, is like, if you were to go back and ask you know, or tell yourself one thing, you know, or one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be? And, you know, because we are where we are now, I mean, we've been through the struggles. I mean, I've been through motherhood. My youngest is 21 now, you know, so I don't have those issues anymore, but I've been through them. And so when we share our stories and we share our experience, we're imparting this wisdom to help the next generation. And we're kind of in that age group, all of us, where we're juggling both sides. You've got the young ones and then you've got the older ones, and that's, you know, finding that balance without losing ourselves and still going out there and doing these businesses and promoting these ideas is really a testament to what this entire panel does, I want to say. And again, Pam, I want you to, I'm starting off with you because you're kind of clockwise to me here. You know, tell us again. Yeah, the one in the middle. You know, where we can find you, because we've got 20 minutes left on this panel. And I wanted to make sure that everybody in our audience, whether you're watching live or, you know, whether you're watching us on replay, to be able to connect with these ladies and, you know, find out what they do, how they can help. And then, you know, just by hitting the like button and the share button, sharing them out so that people can connect with them. So Pam, if you could just, you know, tell us where we can find you and, you know, just a recap of what you do.
Okay. I'm Pam Meisel, president of Evolution Partners, and you can find us at evolutionpartnersins.com. And it pretty much explains anything and everything. If you're in the insurance industry, or if you know anybody in the insurance industry, you know, we get a lot, going back to the relationship thing, a lot of our business comes from referrals. I want to mention something.
That was evolutionpartners.com.
11, yes. Evolutionpartners.com. Sorry.
I'm typing this in for the audience so that they can follow really easily. And I didn't want to get that wrong. Okay, I'm sorry. Who did I interrupt?
Go ahead.
Suzanne, you go next.
Sure. So my website is www.undercare.com. And I just wanted to mention, you had said something ahead of our conversation about how are we managing with COVID-19. And I just quickly wanted to say that, interestingly, Undercare was able to make a quick pivot. And I mean, I'm still doing my regular manufacturing and promoting my line, but we've also were able to stop and use some fabric that we had in storage, and we made masks.
Yay.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for doing that.
Are they made with Velcro?
No, they're not. But I had all this fabric and I was trying to decide what to do with it. And it was just sitting there. And so I had thought about donating it to Australia. I found an organization to make mittens for the burned koala bear's paws.
Yes.
But which I thought was such a sweet idea, but the shipping was prohibitive. So I've just been sitting on this trying to figure out what to do. And then COVID hit. And I'm happy that we've been able to do that. But undercare, as far as the adaptive clothing, check us out. We've got all kinds of interesting things happening. And
I have to say, I've been really bad about writing the review because I have some of the product. And, I have to admit that when I saw the website and I was like, oh, it's got Velcro. I mean, you're going to sit and it's going to be like rip in the most, right. You're going to be like in this quiet moment and all of a sudden your underwear is going to start having that Velcro tear sound. And I'm like, oh man. So I actually took it out of the package and I put it together and I'm like stretching it, I'm pulling it. I'm like, wow, these things are great. And they're comfortable too, I have to say.
Good.
Review pending, guys. Review pending.
It's special Velcro. It's not the scratchy, horrible stuff.
No, they are. It is really
models.
amazing.
Right. So thank you.
Yeah. That was really good. And so I just posted your website, undercare.com, so that we can find you. And, please, people, here's the thing. Just looking at this and trying to think outside of the box also, I saw opportunities like if you had this 25 years ago when I was having a cesarean, I would have been all over these underwear because pulling my underwear up over the incision was terrible. And I mean, it was really miserable. Whereas if I had this where I could just wrap it around my stomach and pull it up and through, oh my gosh. So I don't think it's just for handicapped or the elderly. I mean, if you're thinking about, something that it's comfortable and it is convenient and they're really, really nice products. So anyway, I've shilled you enough. Okay. Checks in the mail, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you. Yeah. I appreciate it.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Thank you.
I'm not kidding about the product, but I am kidding about she's not paying me. No. All right. I'm sorry. Herrenberg. I'm getting a little punchy
You've been
here.
doing this a while.
I've been doing this all day.
Okay, so Heroinberg, heroinberg.com, heroin with an E and then Berg with an H. And also Music Maker Comics with an X, because we got to be interesting. Yeah, if you guys want to check that stuff out, it's great. You can check out the full episodes, and then of course you can special order any of the comics from Music Maker Comics as well. So yeah,
I have a question.
And that's it. Yep, go ahead, Pam.
Oh, sorry. I have a question about the music that goes with the story. So do you like download it and then you have headphones on so you're like reading at the same time the music is going?
You can scan it. Well, okay. If you have a smartphone, you can scan it with, yeah. You can use a barcode scanner and then you can scan it and then it will actually play the music as you're reading the story. So you're actually,
awesome.
Yeah.
Very unique. Very unique.
I try.
Nice. Very cool.
Mine is MarianneRichards.com. Very simple. MariAnne. And then Richards is the easy part.com. And I actually have a place on there where you can schedule a consultation, a free consultation. So I'll spend some time with you. If you have a website you'd like me to review, I'd be more than happy to do it. And I get, as Pam said, word of mouth. People tell their friends about me. Other businesses, say, wow, where'd you get that website? And so business is really good. It's wonderful to do good work and have people that really believe in you.
And I wanted to ask, I don't want to end this on a negative note, because I wanted to ask about, like nightmare clients and nightmare people that you guys work with, but we're not going to go there. We're not going to go there.
I don't have any.
You don't have any. Oh, that's spoken like a true marketer / executive.
I love everybody.
We love everybody. Yes, we do. But I did want to finish off with asking that question that I normally do for every panel and interview that I do, is if you could go back in time and tell your younger self one thing, what would it be? Who wants to go first?
I guess.
Okay, good. Yeah.
I wouldn't change anything. I would not change a thing because, okay, she's a.
Whoops. I'm sorry. I grabbed the wrong person.
Okay.
All right, you go first. You go first.
I wouldn't change anything. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Because everything, just to go back a little bit, actually really far, but the catalyst to all this, my mom passed away when I was 13. And so I was left after that, after living a very sheltered life, to basically raise myself. And everything from that point, and all the people and all the influencers and all the challenges has made me who I am today. I would not change a thing. And my daughter, she's 27. And I always tell her since she was really young, just be you, just be you. And that's what's going to make the difference in everything. And never give up. Never give up. Think out of the box. I have these few sayings, but just to answer your question, Meredith, I would not change anything, no matter what.
Nice. It's very nice.
Who wants to? Okay, I'm just going to grab somebody in the hot seat, and you go.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. No pressure.
Just keep going. Just don't stop. Like, I mean, that's all we can ever actually ask of ourselves, and it pays off eventually. So,
yep. Never give up.
Okay. There you go. You're in the hot seat, Marianne.
For me, I'm a Christian, so I would always just say trust in God, because things happen that you don't think are going the way you want them to, but you keep pushing on. You have faith. You do the things that that are the right things, and it works out. God is good, and that's what I would tell myself. So when you're doubting and when you're struggling, you just say, you know what, I'm doing everything I can, and there's a lesson to be learned, and we're going to get through this.
Okay, great. And Suzanne.
Yes.
I mean, yep, Suzanne, there you are.
I think I would say I would tell myself to be honest about who I am and what I'm good at, and believe in those things and cultivate those things. And at the same time, I guess the other little piece of advice would be like not to cut corners. So don't skip over things. Like if there's something I don't really understand or don't know about, or it's not my area of interest, just try to make yourself learn it. if that sounds like life advice.
Yeah, no, I mean, it absolutely does. I mean, when I was a very awkward, shy person, and, a lot of people don't know this, but I've been voicing this more and more, is that I was assessed with Asperger's in my 30s. So I was this, awkward, shy, inadequate person growing up, and, teased, and I didn't fit in and things like that. And if I could go back and just tell her, don't be afraid. You're not going to die. And the negative people in your life aren't going to be there for very long, because you shed them like a skin, like a snake shedding its skin. You grow from that and you move on. And, it's just one of those things where I am inspired by all of you and your stories, because, I think some of the things that we do to ourselves at the end of the day is that we say, I can't do it, or we compare ourselves to other people when we should be looking in the mirror and saying, how can I improve the person that I'm looking at right now? And I really do appreciate, we do have a couple more minutes. I don't know if there's anything else that you guys wanted to share before we get over to the next panel. Yeah, go ahead, Pam.
I just want to, Meredith, and I said this to you on the phone, but I want to expand on that. And it's surprising that you just told your story, because you are the most engaging person, and I really appreciate you and everything you've done for Eric and I. And that you and Marianne have very similar traits, because it's very rare that you meet someone where I know I haven't met you in person, but they look you in the eyes, or you get, for sure they're listening to you. and and how you know is because they repeat back to you what you said to them, and it's a rare trait. So you're really good at what you do, and I want to thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this.
Yeah.
And you're in the perfect place. So keep doing what you're doing.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate all of you for taking the time. I mean, it's an hour of your day, and I know that for the most part you're kind of a captive audience. So, like, what else are you gonna do? What do you mean you can't be on my show? You have no excuse, lady.
Lady Geek.
And Marianne, I really appreciate you.
One last
Go
thing,
ahead.
Heroinberg.com, like our Facebook page, Twitter, YouTube, and DeviantArt. That's it.
Yeah. Go ahead. We got another minute. Go ahead. Just put it out there. We've got evolutionpartners.com. We've got undercare.com. Oh no, evolutionpartnersins.com. .com. All right. I want to make sure that I get that right, because we don't want to send you off to some other site. And then we have undercare.com. Yeah. MarianneRichards.com, heroinberg.com. Let me see. I saw Christian and Matthew popping in here. You guys want to get on here? Do you have anything else to say in the last couple minutes?
Thank you so much, Meredith. This has been a joy, and you've done a great job. What a great interviewer you are.
Likewise.
Thank you. And we're gonna have this on replay on our YouTube and our Facebook channels and the website. And let me just pop one of the boys in here.
I'm here.
See what they have to say.
I was trying to talk from the green room and I couldn't say nothing. I was going to say Meredith wouldn't let me up in here. She booted me out, but I wanted to thank you ladies so much for joining us. Suzanne, Meredith and I have been a fan of yours for quite some time, of your product. We heard about it through Dennis, and I'm really glad that you could join us. And of course, Pam, it goes without saying it. And Marianne, and I'm so sorry, I keep wanting to just call you Heroinberg. But
Vendetta. That is vendetta.
Vendetta.
Thank you all so much for showing up. Me and Eric were over in the background, and we were kind of doing comments together. And I really, really hope that we can get y'all back for individual Lady Geek sessions down the road. I think that would be some great segments. Y'all all were great. I was in the background listening the entire time, and usually I take these times to go take a break. But thank y'all so very much. We will be doing this again, and I hope we can count on y'all to be here, a part of it.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you.
You guys are my heroes.
You guys be safe out there, okay?
Thanks.
Stay home.
Right.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
You know what, Pam? Before you leave, what is that thing you do at 7 o'clock at night? Is it 7 or 8 o'clock at night?
8 o'clock.
What do you guys
go
do?
outside and we clap for all the medical, emergency workers, all those professionals out there that are on the front line. So at 8 o'clock for 2 minutes, and it started in Spain. And my daughter was doing it. It's so interesting. Like, you hear the whole neighborhood just clapping. So we started doing it in our neighborhood.
That's awesome.
I've got chill bumps thinking about it, because I think about you guys when you do that. We don't usually have, because I'm rural, so people think I'm crazy. They probably do anyway. But
the energy,
I want to.
you. The world knows.
Certifiable. I'm here to proclaim it. Certifiable. Hey, folks, if you're listening in on the live stream, just give us just a minute and you'll be able to click back in. We've got a reset for the next set. Ladies, again, thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will see y'all again soon, hopefully.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye, Suzanne. Thanks.
Bye. Trying to click out of here.
Ending the broadcast. Get on to the next one.